Chapter 843. This farce started and ended with Zhou Qi, which was quite interesting. What Lu Yu did not expect was that Zhou Qi saved her in the end after she slapped Zhou Qi. However, according to Lu Yu's character, she would not feel grateful to Zhou Qi. Instead, she would hate Zhou Qi even more. This was the reverse psychology of human nature. As for Chen Taihe and his companions, they might have a good impression of Zhou Qi. At least Zhou Qi stopped the matter in time and did not cause the worst result. However, Chen Taihe and the others did not have a good impression of Qin Xing at all. Today they had become enemies. Chen Taihe definitely would not let it go. Otherwise, he would not be Chen Taihe. In the future, many people in Siju City would laugh at him. The group of people just watched Qin Xing and his companions leave. No one dared to stop them, for fear that Qin Xing would give in to them out of anger. Moreover, their backbone was Chen Taihe. They would do whatever Chen Taihe said. The strong man, Wei Dongxiu, asked angrily, "Second brother, are you letting him go like this?" Wei Dongxiu, the sturdy man, asked angrily. They had been thoroughly humiliated today, not to mention that Chen Taihe was there. If others knew about this, they would definitely laugh at them. Chen Taihe said coldly, "If we don't let it go, you go and stop him." Hearing this, Wei Dongxiu knew that Chen Taihe was really angry. He did not dare to say anything more in case he angered Chen Taihe. At that time, the loss outweighed the gain. After Chen Taihe calmed down, he walked slowly to Lu Yu, who lowered her head and sobbed. He touched her hair gently and comforted her. "Lu Yi, have you ever been wronged like this before?" Lu Yu looked up at Chen Taihe. Then she covered her mouth and continued to sob. This was not wronged at all. This was obviously a great grievance and humiliation. Since you were a child, the elders and relatives in your family have always doted on you. No matter what you did, they would not beat or scold you. On the contrary, they would coax you. Later, in this big circle, these brothers and sisters also protected you. Needless to say, others would not do anything to you. However, you still have to grow up. If one day, without us, you will definitely suffer losses when you meet such a person again, right? Chen Taihe said calmly. This silly girl was pretty good except for her bad temper. She was a kind child who grew up in a greenhouse. However, kindness could not make up for other shortcomings, and kindness could not be the reason for other mistakes. This incident seemed to make Lu Yu understand many things. She said with red eyes, "Second brother, I got it." Chen Taihe patted Lu Yu's shoulder gently as he said, "Silly girl, don't worry. I won't let you suffer losses. Qin Xing, I'll remember this. Since you've taken the initiative to provoke me, don't blame me for adding insult to injury." On the other side, Qin Xing and the others left the stud farm directly and went back to the lounge directly. Chang Baji and the others were waiting there. Seeing Qin Xing's somewhat embarrassed look, they hurried over and asked, "What happened?" Originally, Chang Baji and the others wanted to follow Qin Xing. After all, they cared about Qin Xing's safety more than anyone else. However, Qin Xing stopped them and asked them to wait here. However, Qin Xing did not expect that he would encounter what happened today. Fortunately, everything had passed. Qin Xing smiled casually and said, "It's nothing. It's just a little trouble." Since Qin Xing had said so, Chang Baji did not say anything more, which meant that things were under control. Xia Ding and Yu Kefi sat next to Qin Xing at this time. Yu Kefi tentatively asked, "Boss, will there be any trouble?" Trouble? Chen Taihe was not an ordinary person. Today, he had slapped Chen Taihe's face. Chen Taihe had already given Qin Xing face. Chen Taihe had already given him face by not attacking him on the spot. If this had happened in Siju City, Chen Taihe would probably have made a big move. Chen Taihe was not afraid that Chen Taihe would have made a big move. Xia Ding did not expect Qin Xing to make it sound so serious. It did not seem like he was exaggerating. However, there were some things that he did not understand. Since things could be so troublesome, Why did Qin Xing have to make such a big fuss? After all, it was really not worth it just for Zhou Qi. Secondly, why did the other party just let it go like this? Could it be that he just wanted to bear with it for a while? Boss, where did they come from? Xiaoding asked. Qin Xing did not intend to hide it. He continued to explain, I don't know where they come from. Have you heard of the first young master Qin called Qin Taihe? Xiaoding had little contact with the circle of Siju City. He shook his head and said he had never heard of it. He was a playful person. Most of the time, the people he knew were rich second generations from Jiangsu, Zhejiang, and Shanghai. Moreover, his family was not as powerful as Yu Kefi's family. Xiaoding had little contact with the circle of Siju City. He directly shook his head and said that he had never heard of him. He was a playful person. Most of the time, he knew some rich second generations in Jiangsu, Zhejiang, and Shanghai. Moreover, his family was not as strong as Yu Kefi's family. It was normal that he did not know him. Yu Kefi was thoughtful. It seemed that he had heard this name from his friends. Those friends were not ordinary people in Jiangsu. They were the top childs in Jiangsu. It seemed that they respected this man very much. Was it really this man? Qin Xing drank a glass of juice and explained with a smile, no need to guess. It is him. There is only one Qin Taihe in Siju City. I am taking a risk today. However, risks and interests coexist. Wealth comes from danger. Boss, don't keep us guessing. What is this guy's background? Xiaoding was confused. He could not help but continue to ask. Qin Xing looked up at Xiaoding and said with a smile, What is his background? Among the young people in Siju City, he is one of the top 3 playboys, Qin Taihe of the Qin family, Su Xingwei of the Su family, and Song Hushing of the Song family. What is his background? What the F***, Xiaoding said subconsciously. He thought that no matter how powerful he was, it would not be beyond his imagination. But after hearing Qin Xing's explanation, he really understood what kind of person they had provoked today. This was really stirring up a hornet's nest. Although he did not know Qin Taihe, he knew Su Xingwei. The first young master of the Su family could do whatever he wanted in Shanghai. No one did not give him face. He was also Qin Xing's sworn enemy. He could be on an equal footing with the first young master of the Su family. It could be seen how powerful this guy was. Boss, what should we do next? This young master can't just let it go, right? Xiaoding was somewhat worried. It would be a lie if he was not worried. Qin Xing said disapprovingly, Different situations call for different actions. What should come will come eventually. What are you afraid of? Just wait. Boss, are you sure there is no problem? Yu Kefi frowned. If there was a problem, they did not want Qin Xing to bear it alone. Qin Xing thought for a moment and replied, There is no problem. You go back to Nanjing and Shanghai tomorrow. I will deal with the rest. Don't worry. When Xiaoding and Yu Kefi heard Qin Xing's words, they immediately disagreed. They were brothers. They should share weal and woe together. How could they abandon Qin Xing at this time? What's more, the Qin family was in such a situation now. Boss, what do you mean? Are we that kind of people? Xiaoding immediately shook his head and retorted. Yu Kefi also echoed, Yes, boss, if something really happens, we will bear it together. Bear it together? Can you bear it? Do you know what the price is? What about your family? Qin Xing said directly, pouring cold water on Xiaoding and Yu Kefi. But Qin Xing immediately said, Don't worry. I have said that I can handle it. You can rest assured. What's more, I have my own purpose for doing this today. As for why, I have already told you the reason, so don't worry. You have already said it? Xiaoding and Yu Kefi said in unison, and then looked at Qin Xing with a puzzled face. Qin Xing did not explain. He just smiled and said nothing. The risk was a little big. Anyway, the Qin family had been like this. Even if Qin Taihe retaliated, how bad could it be? What's more, Now how many people dared to get involved in the Qin family's affairs? Don't go for wool and come home shorn. Not far away, Ji Min and the other two beauties were comforting Zhou Qi. Zhou Qi's mood had gradually calmed down. She looked at Qin Shing and others who were talking over there. She hesitated for a moment and finally summoned up the courage to walk over. When she walked in front of Qin Shing, Zhou Qi, whose makeup had been ruined by crying, lowered her head slightly and said cautiously, "Master Qin, I'm sorry. It's all my fault today. If it weren't for me, it wouldn't be like this. Thank you. I don't know what to say." Qin Shing looked at Zhou Qi with soft eyes and said, "Why do you say sorry? It's all your fault today." Everyone probably knew why Zhou Qi had made that decision in the end, including Qin Shing. However, others did not know Qin Shing's thoughts, so they might have some complaints about Zhou Qi. After all, Qin Shing had stood up for Zhou Qi. Zhou Qi had taken the initiative to give up in the end, which might have made Qin Shing lose face. "Master Qin, in the end, Zhou Qi did not know how to explain, so she had to say yes. Qin Shing said with a smile, "In the end, you did the right thing." "I should thank you." Qin Shing was telling the truth. Even in the end, he could not slap her in the face, because he had already punished her. If he slapped her in the face again, he and Chen Taihe would really be like water and fire in the future. Originally, he could have given up, teased her, and then left. It did not occur to him that Zhou Qi would help him at the critical moment, so he could give up conveniently. In this way, it would be more natural. Therefore, he should thank Zhou Qi, who had hit the jackpot by accident. Hearing this, Zhou Qi was somewhat confused. She did not know what Qin Shing meant. She frowned and said, "Master Qin, you don't blame me?" Qin Shing shook his head with a smile and said, "I don't blame you. All right, it's over. You don't have to worry about anything anymore. I'll deal with the rest." "Thank you, Master Qin." Zhou Qi finally let out a long sigh of relief. She now had a high image of this man in her heart. She felt that no one could be compared to this man, especially when this man was fighting just now. He was so handsome. The farce was finally over. Qin Shing and the others rested for a while, and were ready to go back to the downtown. When they left the equestrian club, Chen Taihe and the others had already left. However, what had happened today was destined to brew slowly. Chapter 844. After Qin Shing returned to the city that day, he asked Brother Wu to inquire more about Chen Taihe's movements. Although it was not easy to know too much about a big boss like Chen Taihe, he just wanted to know as much as he could, as long as Qin Shing could prepare for a rainy day. In the evening, Qin Shing saw Yu Kefi and Xia Ding off. Chao Yufeng also came over. They would go back tomorrow. The next time the four brothers got together would probably be when Yu Kefi got married. However, Qin Shing estimated that he would meet Xia Ding soon. He had decided to go back to Shanghai the day after tomorrow. Anyway, he had nothing to do in Beijing now. He could go back to see Lin Su. If he did not go back, his girlfriend might not recognize him. Ji Min, Zhou Qi, and several other beauties were also there. What they experienced today made these beauties have a lingering fear. Tonight could be regarded as a way to calm down. During this period of time, they got along quite well. Zhou Qi was somewhat afraid that Qin Shing would take revenge on her. Qin Shing comforted her, saying that she could call him at any time if anything happened. When they parted at night, Zhou Qi was somewhat reluctant. She wanted to say something to Qin Shing several times, but she could not muster up the courage. In fact, Qin Shing also knew what she wanted to say. So when she mustered up the courage, Qin Shing took the lead and said, "Don't say anything. I know what you want to say. I don't know what your future life will be like, but try to keep a calm heart. I am not the kind of person you think, and we will not have too much interaction. I hope everything goes well for you." After hearing these words, Zhou Qi knew that Qin Shing rejected her again. Maybe Qin Shing was really not the kind of person she thought, or maybe a man like Qin Shing would not lack women. Maybe she just did not have that qualification. Zhou Qi was somewhat regretful. At the same time, she completely relaxed and would not think about these things in the future. After Zhou Qi left, Ji Min came out. She deliberately teased. Did she confess her love to you again? You say that you are such an insensitive man. What do you know? Hurry up and go back, Qin Sheng said angrily. Compared with Zhou Qi, who was more thoughtful, he and Ji Min got along more easily. After all, this girl was smarter than Zhou Qi. Ji Min stuck out her tongue and said with a charming smile, "Can I play with you in the future?" "Let's talk about it in the future," Qin Sheng said casually. He would leave it up to fate in the future. Most people in life were just passers-by. People like him were even more like passers-by. Ji Min did not ask much, nor did she pester him too much. Just as Qin Sheng had thought, although Ji Min did not want to miss out on Qin Sheng, she knew what the reality was. She would just leave it to fate. Maybe she would forget about Qin Sheng after some time. Hence, Ji Min smiled and waved at Qin Sheng, saying, "Goodbye." After the beauties left, it was already late at night. During this period of time, it was not easy for Qin Sheng to be a rich playboy. He had to eat, drink and have fun every day, in addition to acting, so he was quite tired. He had to admire those professional prodigals and rich playboys. Where did they get the time and the body? No wonder some people could be so easily drained by wine and women. When Qin Sheng returned to the Sihiyuan, Xia Ding teased him as he said, "It's the hardest to accept a beauty's kindness." "Do you think I'm like you?" Qin Sheng said angrily. But now Xia Ding had turned over a new leaf. As for what would happen in the future, Qin Sheng did not know. He hoped that after this guy got married, nothing would happen to him because of his lifestyle. Yu Kefi said happily, "You guys, you'd better learn from me and my second brother." "Second brother? You don't need to say that. It's bronchitis. I've seen that sister-in-law. She looks quite gentle and elegant. But if second brother really dares to mess around, I guess she will dare to cut him with a knife." Xia Ding laughed out loud. Of course, he was joking. When brothers were together, as long as they did not talk about business, it was normal to joke around. Chao Yufeng stared at Xia Ding helplessly and said, "Okay. Do you need me to tell your fiancée your story in the past when I see her next time?" Okay, second brother, I was wrong." Xia Ding immediately admitted defeat, which made Qin Sheng and Yu Kefi laugh out loud. In fact, he really did not take it seriously. Everyone knew what he was like in the past. He changed girlfriends more frequently than clothes. If he was not frivolous, it would be a waste of his youth. His girlfriend naturally knew some of his story in the past. In the end, they could still be together, which showed that they had weighed the pros and cons. Xia Ding was also clear about this. It was very late, and Chao Yufeng had to go back later. Qin Sheng smiled and said, "Then let's stop talking. You have to catch a flight tomorrow morning. Let's get together at the wedding of Lao Si next month." The next day, Qin Sheng left the Sihiyuan Hotel in advance. He did not go to see Xia Ding and Yu Kefi off. Instead, he asked Brother Wu to send them to the airport for him. Then he went directly back to the Sihiyuan of the Qin family. Anyway, there was no one at home during this time, so he did not have to worry about anything. Finally, he could rest for 2 days. During these 2 days, Qin Sheng did not leave the Sihiyuan. Most of the time, he read, exercised and rested, ignoring what was going on outside. There were more and more gossip about the Qin family and the Chang'an system. However, the official media did not report this matter, which meant that everything was still in the game. As for the Chang'an system, Qin Sheng had become more indifferent to it. Whoever was willing to fight for it, let them fight for it. As long as they did not go for wool and come home shorn, it would be fine. So many forces wanted to get involved, but the cake was only so big. Those sitting at the table were not willing to share it with others, while those sitting outside the table all wanted to have a seat at the table. In that case, let them fight for it. At least, they could restrain Lord Liu. Although Qin Sheng did not pay attention to what was going on outside, the conflict between him and Chen Taihe that day had been fermented. Many people already knew about it. At the same time, what he had done during this time was also known by many interested parties who had been keeping an eye on the Qin family. Those who hoped that the Qin family could get away with it by luck were somewhat disappointed, including many old friends who had been on good terms with the Qin family before but had to avoid the limelight now. However, the reactions of the Qin family's rivals were a little different. Some of them were gloating, thinking that the Qin family had given up and Qin Sheng had fallen. They were eager to see it happen. At that time, there would not be any resistance. Some people were more suspicious, because Qin Sheng's sudden behavior was somewhat abnormal. Moreover, the other members of the Qin family had also left Beijing. There were only so many members of the Qin family. If all of them were to leave, it would be too abnormal. At noon, only Qin Sheng, Gongsun, and Chang Baji were at the dining table of the Qin family. Although they could ignore everything about the other members of the Qin family, Gongsun, who was the head butler of the Qin family and Qin Chang'an's #1 confidant, had to keep an eye on him. Gongsun knew much more than many people. Consequently, it was easier for him to share the burden with Qin Sheng and help the Qin family steer the ship. Gongsun asked in a low voice, "Are you really going to Shanghai?" Qin Sheng ate quietly and replied casually, "I won't stay for long. I'm a little worried about the old lady. I'm afraid that she will be suspicious. So it's better for me to go back. Moreover, there are still some trivial things that I have not finished dealing with. It's time for the song to end." Gongsun was somewhat worried as he said, "I'm afraid that the current situation is somewhat unsafe. Nobody dares to hurt you in Beijing because they have too many scruples. However, if you go to Shanghai, you have offended too many people in the past. Maybe someone will use a borrowed knife to kill you. At that time, everything will be over." He had to consider these things because Qin Sheng was the future of the Qin family. If something happened to Qin Sheng, the Qin family would be completely destroyed. Qin Sheng put down his chopsticks and drank a mouthful of soup as he said, "Uncle Gongsun, I will be careful. I won't go to places that I shouldn't go. Moreover, with Lao Chang by my side, there won't be any big problems. Moreover, Shanghai is almost the same as Beijing. If they really want to take action, they won't do it there. Taking a step back, if God really wants me to die, I can't escape no matter what. If God doesn't want me to die, I can do whatever I want to do." What Qin Sheng said at the beginning was naturally serious. However, what he said at the end could be considered as a joke. Gongsun nodded silently as he said, "Since you have decided, I won't say anything more. I will keep an eye on things in Beijing. If anything happens, I will contact you at any time." Qin Sheng had his own considerations. Since the Qin family had chosen to wait, they could only wait slowly. No one knew how long they would have to wait. After lunch, Qin Sheng called old He of the Qin family's guardian family. The old master was very concerned about the Qin family's affairs. He had reservations about what Qin Sheng had said. However, no matter what the Qin family did, the old master would support them. If they needed to do anything, they could just tell him at any time. As for the Zheng family, Qin Sheng had never contacted them again. However, the Zheng family had called him a few times. However, Qin Sheng did not answer them. He guessed that the Zheng family's attitude was somewhat contradictory now. If they did not recognize the Qin family as a guardian family and did not help them, they might be retaliated by the Qin family in the future. After all, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. However, if they recognized the Qin family as a guardian family, they would definitely help them. As for how much they could help, it depended on the Qin family's attitude. However, with the Qin family's current situation, who would dare to get involved? With the Zheng family's strength, if they got involved in this mess, they might not even know how they died. Therefore, the Zheng family was really in a dilemma. Qin Sheng could not be bothered with the Zheng family. Let them suffer on their own. Who asked the Jing family to have such an attitude in the beginning? Qin Sheng had not met the last guardian family since the beginning. It was because he was not in a hurry to meet them now. So what if he met them? So what if he did not meet them? Therefore, he would meet them when he needed them. He hoped that it would not be the Jing family. Qin Sheng did not have any hope for the others. In the afternoon, Qin Sheng finally set off for Shanghai. Unknowingly, he had been away from Shanghai for more than a month. This month's time passed rather quickly, but it made him a little exhausted. The most important thing was that there was still no result. This made him feel the most helpless. However, thinking that he was going to see Lin Su soon, Qin Sheng was still a little happy. After being separated for more than a month, it would be a lie to say that he did not miss her. It was just that Qin Sheng was not a man who liked to talk. Most of the time, he would only take action. As for Lin Su, Qin Sheng really loved her deeply. If it was not because the Qin family was in such a difficult situation, perhaps they would have already prepared to get married. When Qin Sheng was on the plane to Shanghai, the brother and sister of the Song family quarreled again because of the Qin family's matter. This time, Song Husheng's attitude was even more resolute. It was because in his eyes, he really looked down on Qin Sheng. Chapter 845. Since the Qin family listened to Zhu Qingwen's suggestion and chose to wait, if they did not listen to the gossips and rumors outside, everything seemed to calm down again. Except for Qin Chang'an's absence, it seemed that nothing had happened. The Qin family did not go around asking for information. They did not care about or participate in the interest disputes of Chang'an's people. Everyone was not so tired anymore and resumed the most ordinary life. Everything was even weirder than the calm before the storm before the Qin family's accident. Now, Qin Sheng also left Beijing. The members of the Qin family, who had been in the center of the whirlpool, suddenly left Beijing. Everyone was somewhat confused and could not help but speculate about the conspiracy behind it. Could it be that the Qin family was plotting some unspeakable secret? As a result, many forces who had participated in or planned to participate in this storm had to reconsider. As for Qin Sheng, his story during this period had been known by many people, especially the conflict between him and Chen Taihe that day. After a few days of fermenting, everyone in the circle of Suzhou City knew about it. As expected, Qin Sheng was scolded badly. Many people said that the Qin family was really going to collapse this time. After Master Qin fell, could it be that the Qin family had to rely on such a wastrel to rise again? Was he reliable? Originally, many people had high hopes for Qin Sheng, but now they were really disappointed. On the contrary, it was weird that Chen Taihe's fame did not decrease but increased. Many people's impression of Chen Taihe changed. They thought that Chen Taihe had done a good job this time. Although he had a conflict with Qin Sheng, he did not hit Qin Sheng when he was down because of the current situation of the Qin family. If Chen Taihe really wanted to fight against Qin Sheng would definitely not be his opponent now. Therefore, Chen Taihe deserved to be one of the few people who had high hopes for him among this batch of young people in Suzhou City, because he was too good at handling affairs. Of course, some tycoons who knew Chen Taihe well believed that Chen Taihe would not leave it at that. However, Chen Taihe would not attack Qin Sheng now. He would definitely take revenge on Qin Sheng after the storm was over. Otherwise, given Chen Taihe's temper, how could he swallow his anger? All in all, this matter had become the topic of many people's discussion. Some people were guessing whether Qin Sheng was a hothead or had other reasons to have a conflict with Chen Taihe at this time. Wouldn't he take a step back and everything would be fine? Some people were also talking about Chen Taihe. They wondered if Chen Taihe would really let the matter go or wait for an opportunity to take revenge. Some people were also talking about Qin Sheng's fighting skills. They didn't expect this prodigal to be so powerful. It was said that even Chern Taiha's two trusted subordinates were no match for him. Could it be that Qin Shing had been a soldier before or had learned from a master? No matter what others said, when this matter was spread to the Song family, Song Husheng was completely disappointed in Qin Shing. The elders of the Song family might not know or care about the affairs of these young people, but Song Husheng and Song Ruyu already knew it. Song Husheng had often scolded Qin Shing in front of others. Although he didn't like the Qin family, after all, the Song family and the Qin family were old friends. The Song family also hoped that the Qin family could tide over the difficulties. Moreover, Song Husheng used to like Qin Ran. However, Qin Shing, the only hope of the Qin family, had brought disappointment to everyone. How could he not be angry? Song Husheng didn't know Qin Shing, but Song Ruyu had more contact with him. She didn't think that Qin Shing would be so naive. Moreover, Qin Shing's behavior during this period was a bit abnormal. This was not the Qin Shing she knew at all. Therefore, Song Ruyu felt that things might not be so simple. As for why Qin Shing did that, Song Ruyu didn't know. However, as a friend who knew Qin Shing better, she believed in him. After learning about this matter, Song Husheng didn't communicate with Song Ruyu. However, today was the birthday of an elder of the collateral branch of the Song family. This elder had been fond of Song Ruyu and Song Husheng since childhood, so they naturally came to congratulate him. That was how they met. Since they had parted on bad terms last time, the brother and sister hadn't seen each other during this period. They didn't communicate or contact each other. The elders of the Song family knew this more or less, but they didn't think it was a big deal. They would let the children deal with their relationship by themselves. Since they had met, Song Husheng naturally wanted to chat with his sister. Therefore, after the birthday celebration, Song Husheng waited for Song Ruyu. When Song Ruyu came out, Song Husheng quickly stepped forward and blocked her way. He said, "Ruyu, what's wrong? Are you still angry with me?" Song Ruyu glanced at Song Husheng and said in a very unfriendly manner, "What's the matter?" Song Husheng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He replied, "When did we become so distant from each other? If you're not in a hurry, I want to talk to you. What do you think?" Song Ruyu hesitated for a moment and finally followed Song Husheng to the corner of the hotel lobby. After all, this was her brother. She couldn't go too far. Would they not meet again in the future? Moreover, there was nothing serious between them. She was just a little angry at Song Husheng's attitude last time. After ordering 2 cups of drinks, Song Ruyu asked politely, "What's the matter? Just say it." "Nothing. We haven't seen each other for a long time. I want to talk to you. At the same time, I apologize to you for what happened last time. At that time, my attitude was bad. Maybe I didn't have a good impression of the Qin family. Now this bad impression has been extended to Qin Shing, so I was a little impulsive at that time. Moreover, I didn't care about your feelings. After all, you and Qin Shing are friends. Regardless of the trifles between the two families, it was wrong of me to say that to your friend." Song Husheng took the initiative to apologize to Song Ruyu calmly. This surprised Song Ruyu a little. She didn't expect that her brother would admit defeat so quickly this time. Since Song Husheng had apologized, Song Ruyu was not an unreasonable person. They had been getting along well since childhood. Even if there were any conflicts between them, Song Husheng would apologize first and let Song Ruyu go. In his mind, Song Ruyu was the family he cared about the most. After Song Husheng lowered his head, Song Ruyu also said in a low voice, "Well, I also did something wrong." Hearing this, Song Husheng said happily, "Well, let's forget about it. Don't be angry about an outsider anymore. To be honest, it's really unnecessary. I won't talk about him and the Qin family in the future. You are friends, so I won't stop you. But I will still treat him the same way, no matter in the past or in the future." Song Husheng's meaning was obvious. Although he had apologized, his attitude toward Qin Shing was still the same. They would talk about their own things in the future, but they would not talk about this matter anymore. Song Ryu stared at Song Hushing and said, "You despise him so much? What does he have that I like?" Song Hushing didn't hide his disdain at all. If he, the future hope of the Qin family, can turn the tide after the Qin family is in trouble, I will definitely approve of him. Because he is the real man in my mind. What about him? Before and after the Qin family was in trouble, what did he do? What can he do for such a big thing? Well, if you, Song Hushing, were in his shoes, what could you do? Do you think you can turn the tide? Song Hushing, you overestimate yourself. Song Ryu didn't expect Song Hushing's attitude to be like this. She argued again. Song Hushing sneered and said, "Even if I can't turn the tide, I won't be like him, a good-for-nothing who doesn't do anything and still causes trouble outside. I really don't know if Master Qin will die of anger if he knows it. Don't tell me that you don't know what happened 2 days ago. Chun Taihe has a good temper. If I were Chun Taihe, I would teach him a lesson." Song Ryu knew that her brother didn't come to her with good intentions. As expected, he took the initiative to bring up this matter in advance. It seemed that he came to see them make a fool of themselves. Song Ryu was displeased. "Song Hushing, what do you mean?" "I don't mean anything. I just feel that this man doesn't deserve to be your friend, let alone your future husband. As long as I'm here, even if Grandpa has made up his mind, I will stop him. I will never see you jump into that fire pit," Song Hushing said firmly and clearly. "That's right." Song Ryu laughed and said, "Did you come here to say this to me?" "No, I just want to apologize to you. After all, you are my sister." Song Hushing didn't want the atmosphere to be too stiff, so he took the initiative to ease the atmosphere. Song Ryu was very clear that she really couldn't persuade Song Hushing about the Qin family and Qin Xing. Regardless of Song Hushing's other nonsense, she really couldn't accept his prejudice against Qin Xing. Song Ryu wanted to say something, but in the end she just sighed and said, "Brother, people say that you are better than Su Xingwei and Chun Taihe and that you may go further than them in the future. But now I think you will let them down." "What? Just because of my attitude towards Qin Xing?" Song Hushing restrained his temper and said in a low voice. If someone else had said this, he might not have been angry on the spot, but he would definitely remember that person. Song Ryu continued, "Do you really know him? Even though he had a conflict with Chun Taihe a few days ago, did you know what happened? How can you make such a blind conclusion? How long have you known him? How many times have you met him? Everything has just begun. Why can't you wait and see?" "Do I need to?" Song Hushing asked back. Song Ryu stood up in disappointment and sighed to Song Hushing. "Don't you need to? Didn't you ask why you have a prejudice against the Qin family? Why do you have a prejudice against him? Is it because Sister Qin Ran refused you? Or is it because of the marriage contract? Can you put aside all your prejudice and look at it in the simplest way? I think it won't be long before you know the truth. Then you can make a final conclusion." After saying this, Song Ryu directly left. Song Hushing didn't stop her. He couldn't help but be lost in thought. Was he really wrong this time? Chapter 846. Making trouble. They parted on bad terms again. No one had expected that the brother and sister of the Song family would have a conflict because of the Qin family and Qin Xing. This was not the first time they quarreled, and it was getting worse and worse. In addition to what had happened last time, the relationship could not be eased in a short time. Song Hushing's subjective impression of the Qin family was too bad. Master Qin's barbaric growth in the capital circle over the years made him feel disgusted. This was also the main reason why the Song family would not help the Qin family. Old Master Song would not intervene in this matter. Old Master Song was already so old now. It was impossible for him to lose his integrity in his old age because of this matter. Therefore, Qin Chang'an did not ask the old master for help at that time. In many matters, Everyone took the initiative to maintain a tacit understanding. They had a tacit understanding on many things. However, Qin Shing did not understand it. Therefore, when he came to the Song family for the first time, he was not welcomed at the door as expected. As for the previous relationship with Qin Ran, it was insignificant. He was free to like Qin Ran. It did not mean that he did not like Qin Ran because he disliked the Qin family. However, it seemed that he handled Qin Shing's matter differently. Maybe Qin Chang'an represented the Qin family before, and now Qin Shing represented the Qin family. That was why Song Hushing acted like this. Song Hushing fell into silence, feeling that things were in a mess. Originally, the Song family had nothing to do with it. Why did he feel that the Song family was involved now? What went wrong? Was it only because of Song Ruyu? In the evening, Qin Shing finally arrived in Shanghai. After getting off the plane, he went straight to the Lin family's company. This time, he did not tell Lin Su about his return to Shanghai. Of course, he wanted to give her a surprise. Otherwise, it would be meaningless if he took the initiative to tell her. Fortunately, Lin Su was now in China. If she was abroad, Qin Shing would not be able to go there. Based on the current situation of the Qin family, the relevant members of the Qin family were naturally restricted from leaving the country, so they could only wander around in China. The headquarters of Lin's group would be moved to Shanghai at the end of next month. The group's headquarters was in Pudong, but not in the Lujiazui financial district. Fortunately, there were office buildings everywhere in Pudong, so it was not difficult to choose a location. It happened that a group withdrew from Shanghai to Hangzhou, so they chose that place directly. Even the decoration would only take 2 months, so the overall relocation would be done next month. At present, everything was relatively smooth. Lin Su was still working at Poly Plaza. But in order to get through this special period, the Lin family rented 2 whole floors of Poly Plaza. So now, Lin Su had to deal with a lot of things. It could be said that she was extremely busy. Things in Ningbo had been settled by the elders of the Lin family. After all, they had been friends for so many years. Even if they could not get help from the city, they still had connections in the province. It was even easier in Shanghai. After all, the Zhu family was supporting the Lin family behind the scenes. Zhu Qingwen regarded Lin Su as Qin Shing's future daughter-in-law. Naturally, he would help Lin Su deal with some things. Moreover, when a big group moved its headquarters to Shanghai, it would be welcomed by the government. Compared with the depressing Beijing, Qin Shing was more familiar with Shanghai. After all, he had stayed in this city for so many years. Many places had left him good memories. He could often think of some old friends' stories. In fact, when he went to college, Qin Shing also considered going to Beijing. Su Qin had no objection. It seemed that it was okay to go to Beijing or Shanghai. Anyway, with their grades, they could go anywhere. However, Lin Shi directly rejected Qin Shing's idea. Lin Shi suggested Qin Shing to go to Shanghai. Qin Shing finally chose Shanghai. When Qin Shing and the others arrived at Poly Plaza, they had just gotten off work. Qin Shing was very clear that Lin Su would not go back so early. Naturally, she would work overtime in the company. It was still the same when he was in Shanghai. However, Qin Shing was still a little worried. He was afraid that Lin Su would have some social activities. Therefore, on the way, he asked Chang Baji to ask the bodyguards of the Qin family in Shanghai. They were responsible for protecting Lin Su. They said that Lin Su did not have any social activities today. She was still working overtime in the company. Qin Shing was relieved. Qin Shing took Chang Baji to the floor where the Lin family's company was located. As expected, they were stopped at the door by the receptionist who had not yet gotten off work. When Qin Shing was about to explain, Lin Zhe happened to come out of the company. After seeing Qin Shing, he was stunned for a few seconds. It seemed that he did not expect that Qin Shing would appear here. Qin Shing should be busy with the Qin family's affairs in Beijing. He knew about these things. However, no matter why Qin Shing suddenly appeared here, Lin Zhe came to his senses and waved to the receptionist, indicating that they did not need to worry about him. He quickly walked over and was very surprised. "When did you come back?" Qin Shing smiled politely and said, "I just arrived in Shanghai. I came here directly. Su is in the office. I'll take you there." Lin Zhe did not dare to say too many polite words to Qin Shing. He was still a little afraid of this son-in-law. Moreover, he knew that Qin Shing came to the company to look for Lin Su. Otherwise, he would not be looking for him. Therefore, he said so directly. Qin Shing nodded slightly and followed Lin Zhe to the innermost part of the company. On the way, Qin Shing said casually, "Are you free tonight? Let's have dinner together." This was an olive branch that Qin Shing took the initiative to offer. Lin Zhe wanted to take it subconsciously. No matter how many rumors there were about the Qin family, Lin Zhe felt that it was not a bad thing to keep in touch with this son-in-law. However, he still knew his limit. Qin Shing came to the company to look for Lin Su as soon as he came back to Shanghai. He definitely did not tell Lin Su that he was coming back. At that time, the young couple would definitely be intimate when they met. After all, they had not seen each other for so long. How could they not miss each other? If he stayed, wouldn't he become a third wheel? Therefore, Lin Zhe smiled and declined politely. He said that he had an appointment with a leader in the evening. Qin Shing did not insist. He said that they could do it another day. After bringing Qin Shing to the door of Lin Su's office, Lin Zhe slipped away directly. Lin Su's secretary had seen Qin Shing before. Naturally, she knew that this handsome guy with a mysterious background was the boss's boyfriend. Only such a man could match up to the goddess in their hearts. The secretary asked Qin Shing with her eyes if he needed her to go in and inform him. Qin Shing smiled and waved his hand to reject. Then, he walked straight to the door and knocked a few times. When he heard the sound of Lin Su coming in, he slowly walked into the office. Lin Su's office was not very big. She had never liked to be so exaggerated. She only wanted it to be practical. However, the decoration of the office was designed by her. The modern art and abstract oil paintings were also chosen by her. Therefore, although the office was not big, it was very tasteful. At this moment, Lin Su was looking down at the financial documents related to the subsidiary company. Her long hair was tied up casually with an ordinary hairband. From this angle, Lin Su had a special charm when she was serious. Therefore, not only was a serious man charming, but a serious woman was also very attractive. Qin Shing did not say anything. He just stood at the door and quietly admired Lin Su at this moment. He rarely saw Lin Su like this. It seemed that he had returned to the Lin Su when he first met her. Or maybe it was because Lin Su intentionally or unintentionally hid herself when they were together later. Therefore, he felt that Qin Shing was so dazzling and Lin Su was just a foil. In fact, Lin Su was equally outstanding. After a long time, Lin Su felt that someone came in but did not say anything. She thought that the secretary was afraid of disturbing her, so she asked without raising her head, "What's the matter?" Qin Shing thought that Lin Su was too engrossed and forgot that someone came in. At this moment, he said in a slightly teasing tone, "Boss Lin, can I treat you to dinner?" Lin Su frowned subconsciously. From her expression, it could be seen that Lin Su was obviously a little unhappy. Because Qin Shing deliberately changed his voice, Lin Su did not recognize whose voice it was. She slowly raised her head and was about to see who was so bold as to actually come into her office. However, the moment she raised her head, Lin Su was directly stunned. Because the person in front of her was her sweetheart. Lin Su's expression froze from displeasure, then froze to doubt, and finally from doubt to surprise. When she came back to her senses, Lin Su almost instinctively stood up and walked over. The more she walked, the faster she walked. In the end, she directly threw herself into Qin Shing's arms. At this moment, Lin Su was no different from any other woman in love. She was completely different from the temperament goddess just now. Qin Xing also smiled happily. The depression during this period had already disappeared without a trace at this moment. At this moment, he did not need to think about anything. He only needed to hold Lin Su, because this was the harbor of his soul. After a long time, Lin Su calmed down. She did not say anything, just hugged Qin Xing tightly. During this period, she really missed Qin Xing, and at the same time, she was very worried about him, because she knew what Qin Xing went back to do. She also knew that Qin Xing would not come back in a short time, so she did not expect that Qin Xing would suddenly come back to Shanghai. This was really a surprise for her. At this moment, Lin Su realized that Qin Xing did not close the office door. A few heads were sticking out at the door and laughing secretly. They were all her members in the president's office. They definitely had not seen her like this on usual days. So Lin Su was very embarrassed and let go of Qin Xing. She glared at them, then quickly walked over and closed the office door. Only then did she let out a long sigh of relief. Who knew that as soon as she turned around, she would be hugged by Qin Xing from behind. Qin Xing murmured, "Did you miss me?" "Yes," Lin Su said in a low voice. This word was full of tenderness. Then she asked, "Why did you suddenly come back?" Qin Xing let go of Lin Su and sighed. He said thoughtfully, "It's a long story. Let's go to eat first. You must be hungry. I will tell you slowly later." The man she loved the most had come back. For Lin Su, work was not essential anymore. So Lin Su chose to get off work without hesitation. She was taken by Qin Xing to a restaurant with a good environment nearby to eat. Qin Xing and Lin Su were enjoying the world of two people in Shanghai, which they had not seen for a long time. At a barbecue stall in an alley in Beijing, there were also two people enjoying the world of two people. However, they were both men. Moreover, Qin Xing knew both of them. To be exact, they were quite familiar with each other. The most important thing was that both of them had conflicts with Qin Xing. Because one of them was Su Xingwei, and the other was Chen Taiya. These two big shots were sitting together. It was obvious that they were going to make trouble. Chapter 847. Among this group of young people in Suzhou City, Song Husheng, Su Xingwei, and Chen Taihe were the three most famous ones. Regardless of family background, personal ability, prestige and connections in the circle, they were enough to make other young people look up to them. Therefore, many tycoons appreciated them and had high hopes for them. Now, their official careers were on the right track. Even if they followed the prescribed order, as long as they did not make any big mistakes, they would definitely become high-ranking officials in the future. That being said, life was full of too many accidents. The higher they were praised, the more miserable they might fall. They knew this very well. Therefore, they were somewhat disgusted with becoming stars among the young people. They always thought that this might be deliberately done by others, because it was necessary to keep a low profile. After all, it was not a good thing to be too high profile. Tonight, at the barbecue stall in an ordinary alley, two of the three most famous ones were sitting there. If Song Husheng was also there, it would be really lively. Those who did not know would think that something big had happened. After all, they belonged to different circles and rarely got together on ordinary days. Most of the time, they could only get together at official or semi-official conferences and banquets. Perhaps because the barbecue stall was located in the alley, the business was a little bit quiet. However, the boss was still enthusiastic. It seemed that he did not frown because of the poor business. On the contrary, he greeted the only 3 or 4 tables of customers with a smile on his face. Occasionally, he would drink with the customers. This life was quite interesting. Su Xingwei was a frequent customer here. He would come here several times every summer. Previously, his family lived nearby, but later moved away with the promotion of his elders. When Su Xingwei did not know the identity of the boss, He had advised him several times, saying that the taste of the barbecue was not bad. Why didn't you open a shop? There were not many people in this alley. If you relied on barbecue to support your family, you would starve to death. If you don't have money, I can invest in you. The boss replied with a smile, I'm not short of money. In the past, my family had lost 7 or 8 houses due to demolition. I still have other businesses, but I learned this skill from my father. The neighbors in the alley all like to eat our barbecue. Now that my father has passed away, if I don't do it, not only will I lose this skill, but everyone will also not be able to eat it in the future. It doesn't matter if I have money or not. If I really have no money, I can sell a house. I just like to chat and drink with everyone. When Su Xingwei heard this, he naturally shut up. He wasn't short of money, he just liked this kind of lifestyle. Therefore, every time Su Xingwei came, he would have a drink or two with the boss. Once, there was a group of people who deliberately came to find trouble with the boss. Later, Su Xingwei had to help them deal with it. Little Su, how's the taste today? Is it spicy enough? The boss personally delivered the dishes ordered by Su Xingwei and asked with a smile. Su Xingwei, who was wearing slippers and big underpants, replied, Uncle, you definitely taste good. Give me 5 more chicken wingtip. Let's have a drink when there's no one around. The boss left smilingly as he said, Okay. You go ahead with your business. Opposite Su Xingwei, Chen Taihe was drinking with a gloomy look on his face. Recently, he didn't have a good appetite. After eating a few skewers of barbecued meat, he stopped moving his chopstick. He just waited for Su Xingwei to come straight to the point. They were definitely not enemies, but they were not friends either. They rarely met each other. Seeing that Chen Taihe stopped eating, Su Xingwei frowned and asked, Why don't you eat? Is it not tasty? Chen Taihe replied casually, It's not bad. It's just that I don't have an appetite. If you have something to say, let's talk about it. If not, I'll go back early. Su Xingwei picked up his glass and took the initiative to clink glasses with Chen Taihe. Among them, Chen Taihe walked the fastest. However, Su Xingwei felt that Chen Taihe walked unsteadily and seemed to be a little anxious. In contrast, he and Song Husheng walked very steadily, one step at a time. No matter whether it was their resumes or their achievements, no one could find fault with them. Lao Chen, why are you in such a hurry? We haven't seen each other for a long time. Can't we talk about the old days? Su Xingwei smiled happily. Of course, Su Xingwei would not put on airs in front of Chen Taihe because the two of them were well matched in strength. Chen Taihe said in an unfriendly tone, What old days do we have to talk about? We are not the same kind of people. Su Xingwei said thoughtfully, How can you say that? We are going to the same destination by different means. Many things are uncertain. However, we are not capable of changing many things now. Don't you think so? Chen Taihe said disapprovingly, Maybe in the future, but definitely not now. If you have anything to say, you'd better say it earlier. Su Xingwei began to persuade Chen Taihe patiently as he said, Lao Chen, it seems that you are not in a good mood. Is it still because of that matter? If you feel uncomfortable, I'll help you vent your anger. Su Xingwei began to persuade him patiently. Upon hearing Qin Sheng's words, Chen Taihe finally revealed a smile that he had not shown for a long time. However, this smile was somewhat thought-provoking. He raised his head and chuckled as he said, Oh, it turns out that you are waiting for me here. What? Do you want to ridicule me or do you have other plans? Su Xingwei did not know whether to laugh or cry as he said, Lao Chen, look at what you said. Am I such a person? Chen Taihe stared at Su Xingwei and asked, Aren't you? While eating the barbecue, Su Xingwei asked casually, Let's not talk about other things. Lao Chen, let's just talk about how you are going to deal with this matter. Are you going to let it go? You and I both know the current situation of the Qin family. If Qin Xing dares to provoke you, he will be courting death. Chen Taihe said happily, What? Are you going to stand up for me? Su Xingwei shook his head as he said, Not really. I have been displeased with him for a long time. Now that he has offended you, I think he thinks that we are easy to bully. I really don't know who has the final say in Siju City. We should teach him a lesson and let him know how to be a man at this time. Chen Taihe sneered at Qin Xing openly as he said, Hee, I finally understand why you came to me today. Turns out that you want to kill someone with a borrowed knife. Isn't it too crude? Su Xingwei pretended to be confused as he said, What do you mean? Lao Chen, I don't understand. Su Xingwei, others may not know some things, but I know them better than anyone else. You have forgotten who you are and who I am. You are Su Xingwei, and I am Chen Taihe. Is it really difficult to know some things? Chen Taihe did not intend to see Su Xingwei's acting. He directly laid out his cards as he said, If nothing happened to Master Qin, I think you should be drinking and chatting happily with Qin Xing now. After all, the two families were not far apart before. Now that something happened to Master Qin, you immediately quarreled with Qin Xing. Is this your idea or the idea of your family? Don't think that I don't know what happened to you in Shanghai. Don't think that I don't know what happened to the Su family in Chang'an. Even I know it, how can others not know it? After saying this, Chen Taihe felt very comfortable. Then he gulped down a glass of wine and picked up the barbecue leisurely. It seemed that his appetite had been aroused. Su Xingwei's expression kept changing. After a while, he said, Alas, I thought that if you know it, you will know it. My family did not hide it. Chen Taihe said meaningfully, Old Su, your table manners are too ugly. You can't eat the Chang'an people. Su Xingwei sneered. How do you know? If you don't believe me, let's have a try. Chen Taihe was confident. It seemed that he had already seen through the truth. Su Xingwei did not want to be entangled in this matter. Su Xingwei did not want to be entangled in this matter. He just wanted to talk with Chen Taihe about Qin Xing. Since Qin Xing kept courting death, he should not blame him for giving him a ride. Therefore, Su Xingwei took the initiative to find Chen Taihe and do him a favor. In fact, there was another thing. Su Xingwei and the tycoon behind him wanted to know what Qin Xing wanted to do, or what the Qin family wanted to do. Some time ago, the Qin family had been doing all kinds of things for this matter. During this period, all the members of the Qin family suddenly made peace with each other and left Beijing. What on earth was going on? Su Xingwei and the tycoon behind him had no idea. They could not help but be lost in thought and began to guess. It was impossible to guess, so Su Xingwei decided to sound it out. Su Xingwei continued, Let's not talk about this. Let's talk about that thing. Are you really going to let it go? Chen Taihe chuckled and said, That's my business. It has nothing to do with you. Let's not talk about this. Su Xingwei said calmly, Old Chen, you are too suspicious. I just said that if you want to vent your anger, you can drag me into it. I know more than you do. Maybe we can cooperate. That's all. Chen Taihe squinted and asked, Are you sure you won't kill him? Do you think so? Qin Xing dares to offend you, but I dare not. Su Xingwei laughed and said, Both of them were not easy to deal with. Now that they were together, Qin Xing really did not know what kind of trap they would set for Qin Xing and how he would deal with it. However, at this moment, Qin Xing did not care about these things. He would think about it when he returned to Beijing. He would stay in Shanghai for a few days. After dinner, Qin Xing and Lin Su went home. Everything was so warm when they returned to the familiar environment. Qin Xing felt that he had a more sense of belonging here than in Beijing. However, before he could feel anything, the newlyweds had already been entangled together. They were destined to talk about the pain of lovesickness tonight. In the morning, when Lin Su woke up, it was almost 9 o'clock. She might not be able to go to the company today. At this time, she found that Qin Xing had disappeared. She got up in a hurry and went to find him. When she saw Qin Xing was cooking in the kitchen, she was finally relieved. She thought that what happened yesterday was a dream. However, thinking of their crazy behavior last night, Lin Su felt a little shy. She had not been like this for a long time. She should be more reserved in the future. You're up? Have some breakfast. Let's go to see Grandma later. Qin Sheng walked over and held Lin Su's hand. Breakfast was simple bread, milk, and fruit. Anyway, when they arrived at Grandma's place, there would be a sumptuous lunch. The simple breakfast made Lin Su feel very happy. This man still loved her so much. What was he like in the past? He was still the same now. After breakfast, Qin Sheng waited for Lin Su to pack up and went out. Small Aunt knew that she had returned to Shanghai, so she would go there at noon. The most important thing was that apart from Small Aunt, Small Uncle's husband would also go there today. This inevitably made Qin Sheng a little nervous. Chapter 848. Facing the problem alone. The weather forecast said that a typhoon would come soon. Qin Sheng still remembered the typhoon he had experienced in college. It should be the most powerful typhoon in Shanghai in the past 20 years. At that time, everyone stayed in the dormitory and did not dare to go out, for fear that they would be blown away by the typhoon. However, Su Qin's gastritis broke out, and she was in so much pain in the dormitory. Although it was noon, it was still dark outside. The wind was blowing hard, and the rainstorm was coming, as if doomsday was coming. Su Qin's roommates wanted to call Qin Sheng, but Su Qin insisted on not letting them. In such a weather, accidents could easily happen. She did not want Qin Sheng to take risks for her, so she could only endure it. However, illness came like a landslide. It was not easy to endure it. In the end, Su Qin's roommates could not stand it anymore, so they called Qin Sheng. When Qin Sheng received the call, he was ready to rush out without hesitation. After several other people in the dormitory asked him what was going on, they finally decided that Xia Ding would drive and Chao Yufeng would accompany him. Only then did they let Qin Sheng send Su Qin to the nearest hospital. This city was still the same city, but those people were not the same people anymore. Those stories had also been scattered with the wind. As people walked, they also disappeared. Actually, many old friends who had been with each other day and night had already seen each other for the last time. Since then, they had disappeared in the vast sea of people. When Xia Ding went to Shanghai last time, he told Qin Sheng that there would be a classmate gathering in Shanghai in a period of time. All the classmates were familiar with him at that time. Xia Ding said that he would go to join in the fun and see if he could break up a couple. Qin Sheng happened to be back in Shanghai this time, so he suddenly wanted to join in the fun at that time. Qin Sheng and Lin Su arrived at Sinan Road just after 10 o'clock. In fact, Qin Sheng liked the feeling of staying in the old district of Shanghai for a long time. It seemed that this was the real charm of a city, unlike Pudong, which only had skyscrapers, which were breathtaking at first glance. No wonder those tycoons liked to live in garden houses in the old district. Qin Sheng thought that when he was old, he could also buy such a house in Shanghai and come here for a few months every year. It was actually quite good. During this period of time, Lin Su was almost always wearing professional attire. Today, she could finally wear something more relaxed and comfortable. She wore a simple printed white t-shirt, white jeans, and high-heeled sandals. The most important thing was that she and Qin Sheng were wearing couple attire. When she was shopping, she also bought a set for Qin Sheng. Although Qin Sheng was not in Shanghai during this period of time, Lin Su bought a few sets of clothes for him when she went shopping with her best friend. To be honest, Qin Sheng was quite happy in the past 30 years. When he was young, Auntie Wang bought clothes for him. When he grew up, Auntie Wang and Xin often bought things for him when they went shopping. Later, he had Su Qin, who did not care about him as much as Auntie Wang did. Now he had his sister, Lin Su, and so on. Anyway, he never had to worry about wearing clothes. The green parasol trees, the mottled old walls, and the rusty iron gate told the stories of each family. The towering trees in the courtyard hid many secrets. Every time Qin Shing walked to the door of such an old foreign-style house, he would always think about how much history these green bricks and gray tiles had witnessed. People came and went endlessly. The only thing that did not change was listening to the stories of each family. They were neither sad nor happy, and they would still be the same even after 10 or 100 years. In the living room of the old foreign-style house, the old lady had been waiting for a long time. Hearing that Qin Shing had returned to Shanghai, the old lady was as happy as a child. She had packed up early and waited for Qin Shing and Lin Su to come over. When the servant went to buy vegetables, she even reminded them to buy fresh vegetables and so on, which made people laugh. Zhu Qingwen had also come over with the child. They were chatting with the old lady, but the governor wasn't around at the moment. He would only be able to come over at lunchtime. After all, he was a busy man. To walk this path, one had to give up a lot of things. If one wanted to go further, one had to give up even more things. As for what they had obtained, everyone had their own answer. Before Qin Shing and Lin Su came in, the nanny said to the old lady, "Old lady, they are here." Hearing this, the old lady stood up with a smile. The wrinkles on her face seemed to have disappeared a lot. Qin Shing and Lin Su did not dare to let their grandmother welcome them. They walked over quickly. The old lady held Qin Shing's hand and shouted, "Oh, why did you lose weight again? Are you not used to the climate in Beijing? I was wondering why you went to Beijing. Shanghai is more comfortable than Beijing. I like staying in Shanghai." The old lady knew that Qin Shing had stayed in Shanghai for a long time. He had only stayed in Beijing for a few months. Therefore, she said that Qin Shing was not used to the climate in Beijing. At this time, the old lady had no time to care about her granddaughter-in-law. After all, she had not seen her grandson for more than a month. During this period, Lin Su had come over 2 or 3 times. The old lady felt that since they were family, she did not need to be so polite. Therefore, the old lady held Qin Shing's hand and talked for a long time. Then she paid attention to Lin Su beside her and praised her with a smile. It was enough for her to be treated like this by the old lady. Lin Su greeted the old lady with a smile. In the end, she was pulled away by her small aunt, Zhu Qingwen, who said that the old lady missed her grandson and asked Qin Shing to chat with her for a while. As soon as Qin Shing sat down, the old lady gave him fruits and snacks. Qin Shing did not dare to refuse. They chatted while eating. The old lady asked him what he was going to do in Beijing. Then she asked him why he had been there for so long. Then she asked if he would go there again. She kept asking questions like a child. Qin Shing did not know whether to laugh or cry. However, he was so touched that he had nothing to say. Grandma really loved him. It was not until more than half an hour later that the old lady let Qin Shing go. Then she chatted with Lin Su. At this time, Zhu Qingwen went to the kitchen. Qin Shing followed her into the kitchen. In the kitchen, the housekeeper had just started to prepare lunch. Qin Shing and Zhu Qingwen helped to wash and cut the vegetables. Then they talked about these casual topics. "I did not expect that you could really persuade your aunt." Zhu Qingwen was a little amused. She knew the temper of the eldest daughter-in-law of the Qin family. She had seen it before. It was really difficult for her to listen to the advice of the Zhu family. Qin Shing replied honestly, "We did not persuade her. It was Uncle who persuaded her. She still believes in Uncle. Uncle quite agrees with your advice." "Oh, that uncle of yours is willing to come out of retirement?" Zhu Qingwen was very surprised. She knew that Qin Shing had gone to find Qin Chongqing, but she did not know that it was Qin Chongqing who had persuaded Zhaoansh. Zhu Qingwen was not unfamiliar with Qin Chongqing. He was an influential person in the past. It was just that he made people sigh a little. If Qin Chongqing had not gone into seclusion because of the matter of the Qin family, maybe today Qin Chongqing alone was enough to make people not dare to look down on the Qin family. Maybe Qin Chang'an would not have taken this path. Everything was fate. Inadvertent things could change many people's lives. Qin Xing shook his head and said, "Uncle has not come back yet. I just called him. If your uncle had come back, you would not have so much pressure." Alas. Zhu Qingwen let out a long sigh and said, "Forget it. Let's not talk about this. How long are you going to stay in Shanghai this time?" "I don't know yet," Qin Xing said. He really had not thought about this problem. Zhu Qingwen did not say much. She smiled and said, "Then don't rush back. There is nothing to do when you go back. Just take it as a quiet time in Shanghai. Maybe there will be a result about your family soon. It will not be too late to go back then." Qin Xing thought for a moment and said casually, "I am a little worried about the Chang and people. If we are not there, I am afraid that they will be too unscrupulous. At that time, the Chang and people will be in a mess. Will it make the Qin family worse?" Zhu Qingwen chuckled and said, "Don't worry. You don't have to worry about this at all. First, those people are not as anxious as you think. At the same time, don't look down on them. After so many years in Siju City, they have this awareness. Second, even if they do something, it will never have anything to do with the Qin family. Many people are watching. As long as you don't interfere with the Chang and people's affairs, it will be fine." Qin Xing nodded silently. He believed that small aunt could see further than them. After all, small uncle and small uncle were behind her. They stood at a high enough position. At noon, as soon as the meal was on the table, the old lady asked everyone to sit down for fear that her grandson and granddaughter-in-law would be hungry. Of course, Qin Xing sat beside the old lady. Before he moved his chopsticks, he heard the whistle outside. Qin Xing knew that small uncle's husband was coming, so he stood up in a hurry and went out with Lin Su to welcome him. Before coming to the old lady's place, Qin Xing had already told Lin Su that small uncle would also come today. Lin Su was somewhat nervous. After all, it was the first time for her to meet small uncle, and it was also the first time for her to have such a close contact with a governor on such an occasion, who was in charge of Shanghai, the most economically developed city in China. Qin Xing smiled and said that there was no need to think too much. Today was just a family gathering, and small uncle was just small uncle. Although Qin Xing said so, Lin Su still felt a little nervous. Downstairs of the old foreign-style house, Zhu Zhangshun had already gotten out of the car and walked to the old foreign-style house unhurriedly. The driver and the secretary were still waiting in the car. They had long been familiar with this place. Zhu Zhangshun looked up and saw Qin Xing coming out with his girlfriend. He smiled and waved his hand. This time, Zhu Zhangshun looked quite approachable. Qin Xing called softly, "Uncle." Zhu Zhangshun nodded with a smile and patted Qin Xing's shoulder gently. Then he looked at Lin Su, who also called him uncle. Of course, he knew Qin Xing's girlfriend. After all, his wife, Zhu Qingwen, often mentioned her. This beautiful girl was relatively reserved in front of Qin Xing, just like most girls. It seemed that there was no difference between them except that they were beautiful and had a good temperament. However, Zhu Zhangshun also knew that she was outstanding enough and was now the helmsman of Lin's group. If she had not been absolutely powerful, Lin's group would not have handed over such a big group to this girl. Therefore, Zhu Zhangshun quite appreciated Qin Xing's girlfriend. "You are Lin Su, right?" Zhu Zhangshun asked very kindly. Now Lin Su was already half a member of the Zhu family. In ordinary days, when she met the old lady and Zhu Qingwen, she would call them grandmother and small aunt. Therefore, when she met Zhu Zhangshun, she naturally called him small uncle. Otherwise, she might not be used to calling him other names. Lin Su was no stranger to this small uncle. It was just that she had seen him on TV and online news before. This was the first time that she had seen him in person. His natural aura made her feel a little restrained. She could only smile and nod. "Don't be nervous. I am just your small uncle," Zhu Zhongshun said with a smile. Of course, he understood Lin Su. At this time, Qin Shing helped to resolve the situation. Uncle, lunch is ready. We are just waiting for you. Grandmother and small aunt are already waiting. Then let's go in, Zhu Zhongshun said with a smile. Then he strode inside. Qin Shing gently held Lin Su's hand and then joked in a low voice, Our big President Lin can also be nervous. You still say that? Lin Su stared at Qin Shing and said. She hoped that when she met Qin Shing's uncle again in the future, she would not be so nervous. Maybe in the future, she would meet more important people like him. It seemed that she needed to continue to train. The atmosphere of lunch was very warm. Zhu Zhongshun behaved very casually at the dining table. He did not dare to put on airs in front of the old lady. It should be known that when he first talked to Zhu Qingwen, old Master Zhu had a lot of opinions about this. The old lady said a lot of good things about him. Therefore, Zhu Zhongshun had been very filial to the old lady all these years. The old lady was also very satisfied with this son-in-law. Especially after Zhu Zhongshun went further and further away, the old lady felt that she did not choose the wrong person back then. It was just that Zhu Zhongshun became busier and busier, so the number of times he came to see the old lady became a little less. The old lady did not have any opinion about this, because business was more important. With Zhu Zhongshun around, not to mention Lin Su, even Qin Shing did not talk much. Fortunately, the old lady and Zhu Qingwen did not want to make the atmosphere awkward, so they took the initiative to talk about a lot of topics. Only then did the two young people gradually get used to it. Qin Shing talked more towards the end. After lunch, Zhu Qingwen and Lin Su accompanied the old lady to chat in the living room. As expected, Zhu Zhongshun called Qin Shing to the balcony on the second floor. Qin Shing followed behind Zhu Zhongshun, feeling a little uneasy. This was the first time he faced this small uncle alone. Chapter 849. A sudden clap of thunder. The last few times Qin Shing had met this youngest uncle, they did not talk much. It was only when his uncle came to Shanghai that youngest uncle said a few more words to him. However, at that time, youngest uncle looked more serious and was far from being as approachable as he was today. After all, the things they talked about at that time involved the fate of two big families. As for that family gathering, perhaps because there were too many people, little uncle didn't speak much and left early after the meal. Perhaps he knew that if he was present, these juniors would be too restrained and unable to let loose, just like when Zhu Weiguo was present. This time was different. Because there were not too many people, Zhu Zhongshun did not need to be afraid of anything. Zhu Weiguo was not there. Last time, Zhu Zhongshun gave the initiative to his brother-in-law, Zhu Weiguo. After all, Zhu Weiguo was his real uncle, and he was just an uncle. His uncle-in-law, who was wearing a white short-sleeved shirt, looked very tall and straight. His footsteps were even more steady. For so many years, he had been walking step by step like this. However, there were more and more white hairs on his head. Qin Shing did not know if he had dyed them or not. Qin Shing did not know whether he had dyed them. On the balcony of the living room on the second floor, Zhu Zhongshun took out a pack of cigarettes from his pocket as soon as he arrived. He turned around and handed one to Qin Shing, saying, "Your aunt is very strict, so I can only smoke secretly." It did not occur to Qin Shing that his uncle-in-law would give him a cigarette. The weight of this cigarette was not small. Qin Shing had to catch it. Then, he quickly took out a lighter and lit it for his uncle-in-law. After that, he said, "Uncle, smoke less in the future. I'm doing this for your own good." Zhu Zhongshun leaned against the guardrail, took a deep breath and said, "I smoke occasionally. I'm old, so I can't be as indulgent as you young people. You young people should also be more careful." In such an environment, Qin Shing did not feel any pressure. He smoked casually, as if he was chatting with friends. In fact, children all wanted to be friends with their fathers, but the fathers were always worried that they could not maintain their dignity. Therefore, the relationship between father and son became a difficulty for most families. Are you under a lot of pressure during this period? After waiting for a while, Zhu Zhongshun finally started to talk about business. He did not really come to the second floor to smoke. He came here today because he really wanted to talk to Qin Sheng about something. Qin Sheng replied in a low voice, "Anyone would feel pressured when encountering such a thing. But I've gotten used to it over the years. I feel uncomfortable when I don't feel pressured." Zhu Zhongshun looked at Qin Sheng and said slowly, "It's actually a little unfair for you to encounter such a thing not long after you came back. But you are a man of the Qin family after all. Since such a thing happened, you have to be at the forefront. No matter what the final result is, you have to face it calmly." He also did not know whether old Master Qin's decision back then was right or not. If he had brought Qin Sheng away back then just to avoid these trivial things, now that Qin Sheng was involved again, would the old master feel a little sorry for him? Qin Sheng nodded silently and said, "Uncle, I know. No matter what the result is, I will accept it. But I will also try my best. It's just that my ability is limited, and there will be a time when human strength is exhausted." Zhu Zhongshun patted Qin Sheng's shoulder and said, "It's good that you understand. Some things can't be changed even if you work hard." However, nothing could be changed if he did not work hard. Qin Sheng fell into silence. He had been thinking about that thing all the time. No matter how hard the Qin family tried, could they really change the result? Because from the beginning to the present, Qin Sheng increasingly felt that the Qin family's things were not simple. What could they change when the old master could not change it? No matter how hard they tried, the final result might be that the old master lightened his punishment. Qin Sheng could not help but say, "Uncle, I want to ask, what will the final result of our family be? You have a broader vision and should be clearer than me. But if you don't want to say it, I won't ask." Zhu Zhongshun took a deep breath and asked, "Do you really want to know? It might not be good to know some things." Qin Sheng hesitated for a moment and nodded heavily. "I want to know." Zhu Zhongshun turned around and no longer looked at Qin Sheng. Instead, he looked at the Sinan mansion opposite, which was probably the place he came to the most. However, it was never for work. Most of the time, he accompanied the old lady or his wife to relax. Most of the time, it was also at night. After all, as a leader who appeared on TV every day, it was easy for him to be recognized. Zhu Zhongshun said, "There is the best result and the worst result. It may also be the result of weighing the interests of all parties. At present, no one can say for sure, because everyone is also testing the bottom line of the Qin family this time. However, they are afraid that they will fall into it and it will be difficult for them to get out at that time. The best choice is to stay out of it so there is no risk. However, how many people can resist the temptation of the Chang'an family, which is such a big cake? Don't they all say that fortune comes from danger?" Zhu Zhongshun said with a little contempt. He was very contemptuous of some of these people's practices, including the Chang'an family and its shareholders, including Qin Chang'an. Therefore, he hoped that this time, the matter of the Chang'an family would be scraped off the bone to heal the wound. In this way, he could kill the chicken to warn the monkey. After all, there were many interest consortiums like the Chang'an family. How did they get rich, rise, and become cancer? It was nothing more than some interest alliances. They used human resources and power rent-seeking to integrate resources in all walks of life. Among them, the financial circle was the hardest hit, because finance was the top of all the industry pyramids, and because finance was the fastest way to make money. In the past, the state had the will to crack down on this aspect, but it did not have the ability to do so. Most of the people who were powerful in front of ordinary people were actually just shrimp soldiers and crab generals. Now, since the anti-corruption efforts in the financial circle had been intensified, especially after several big shots in the financial circle had been killed one after another, those real big shots had surfaced. Therefore, the Chang'an family became the first one to be targeted, because the bird that sticks out gets shot. Zhu Zhongshun said casually, "Then let's talk about the best result first. The best result is that everything is a false alarm, or there are some bumps in the road, but the ending is very good. The Chang'an family will not be affected in any way, or it will just be reintegrated and supervised. Your father will come back safe and sound, but he may have to keep a low profile in the future. As for you, you will continue to do things step by step." "This is the best result," Zhu Zhongshun said casually. But he was very clear that this was not possible at all. If this was the case, it would be a challenge to the whole power system. In the future, other big shots would become more aggressive or not change at all, which was not what the higher-ups wanted. After Qin Shing heard this, he directly shook his head and said, "Uncle, this is not possible. If this is the case, the thunder is loud but the rain is small. It will never cause the current situation." Zhu Zhongshun was very pleased that Qin Shing knew him in this way. At least, Qin Shing did not expect the best result. Otherwise, if he worked hard for this, he would offend a lot of people and owe a lot of favors. In the end, the Qin family would be isolated. The Zhu family would definitely not get involved in any of the Qin family's affairs, because the price to pay would be too high. Zhu Zhongshun continued to say, "The second result is the result after all parties have weighed the pros and cons. The Chang'an family will lose most of its interests, which may not only include the interests of the Qin family. As for your father, he may be punished appropriately. But for the Qin family, at least it will not really hurt the Qin family. You can choose to quit the Chang'an family or integrate your interests in the Chang'an family. From then on, you can go on a different path and have nothing to do with what happened before." He was willing to talk to Qin Shing about this today because he saw that Qin Shing was willing to listen to the Zhu family's suggestions. Secondly, he wanted to know what Qin Shing was thinking about, which was related to how the Zhu family would deal with it later. Therefore, although it was just a chat, it was also a way for Zhu Zhongshun and the Zhu family to test Qin Shing and the Qin family. After all, until now, they did not know what kind of result the Qin family wanted. Only when they knew the result could they work hard. This time, Qin Shing was lost in thought after listening to Zhu Zhongshuan's words. He began to sort out some things systematically. It seemed that he had not thought about these things before. He just thought that as long as he worked hard, the result would be out of his control. However, after listening to Zhu Zhongshuan's words, Qin Shing had to re-examine some problems. Zhu Zhongshun was not in a hurry. He was waiting for Qin Shing to give him the answer he wanted or Qin Shing wanted to say. After a long time, Qin Shing replied, "Uncle, the second result is very likely to happen. It may also be the result that many parties want. But I am a little confused. What do you mean by saying that the Chang'an family will lose most of its interests, which includes the interests of the Qin family?" Zhu Zhongshun said meaningfully, "Do you really think that they can pry many things from the Chang'an family? Do you really think that those people can divide the Chang'an family? You underestimate your father and some people's determination. I can only tell you that the Chang'an family is now a time bomb. Whoever touches it will be unlucky. Some people don't press the bomb now, just to see how many big fish there are in the water." When Qin Shing heard this, he was so shocked that he broke out in a cold sweat. His whole face froze. He seemed to have guessed something. He also thought of what the old professor of Tsinghua University had said to him. Everything was so terrible. After coming to his senses, Qin Shing muttered to himself, "Uncle, if what you said is true, I am afraid that the second result is also very small. Especially for my father, I am afraid that it will not be so easy." "Then do you want to hear the worst result?" Zhu Zhangshun nodded silently. It seemed that Qin Shing was very calm and did not overestimate the second result. Qin Shing nodded gently. He was already mentally prepared. What was the worst result? Zhu Zhangshun continued to look into the distance. This city was becoming more and more prosperous, but the pressure on every ruler was immense. This was because if one wanted to achieve remarkable results in this city, it would be a little too much. Moreover, Zhu Zhangshun wanted to continue moving forward. He was only 2 steps away, and each step was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. The worst result is that the Chang'an family will no longer be the Chang'an family, and Qin Chang'an will no longer be Qin Chang'an. From then on, everything will disappear in the long river of history, Zhu Zhangshun said calmly, as if there was no emotional fluctuation when he said these words. It was like telling a harmless joke. The speaker was calm, but the listener was shocked. Was this the worst possible outcome? Qin Shing dared not think about it. He thought that he might have guessed it, but the worst result still shocked him. But was it really so? Qin Shing did not know. After all, this was just a guess. But this was his uncle's guess, and it could also be his uncle's guess. Their guess was more than just a guess. Before Qin Shing came to his senses, Zhu Zhangshun had already pinched the cigarette butt and left the second floor. As a busy man, he had a lot of work to deal with. The most important reason why he could spare this time to come here was to chat with Qin Shing. The real storm had just arrived. Chapter 850. Chapter 850. The Truth killing and burying Zhu Zhangshun knew that what he said today would definitely make Qin Shing think deeply, which also explained why the Zhu family asked the Qin family to wait previously. Because many things were not clear now, if the Qin family blindly made trouble, the final result might be the opposite of what they wanted. The Zhu family did not want to see the Qin family go to the worst situation, so they tried to persuade them. At least this was within the reasonable scope of the Zhu family, not directly and crudely interfering in the Qin family's affairs. After Zhu Zhangshun went downstairs, he said goodbye to the old lady and left directly. He stayed for less than an hour. His daily schedule was originally very full, like most people in high positions. Today, he only rushed over after canceling an event. The old lady smiled and told him to pay more attention to his health, not to be too tired, and to eat on time, etc. The old lady appreciated this son-in-law and believed that he could go further. Lin Su was a little surprised. Why didn't Qin Shing come down to see her uncle off? Out of politeness, she stood up to see this uncle off for the first time. No matter what the Qin family would be like in the future, as long as this uncle was in Shanghai, the Lin family's development in the future would not slow down. Obviously, this uncle's career would not stop here, so it was definitely a wise move for the Lin family to move their headquarters to Shanghai. Zhu Qingwen smiled and said, "You stay with Grandma, I'll go see your uncle off." Hearing this, Lin Su sat down and watched her uncle leave after saying goodbye. Outside the yard, Zhu Zhangshun did not rush to get in the car. Zhu Qingwen asked casually, "Have you talked?" "Yes, I guess he is still digesting it." Zhu Zhangshun looked up at the balcony on the second floor. Qin Shing was not there anymore. He had to bear the pressure, and it would get bigger and bigger. If he was not mentally prepared, he was afraid that there would be problems in the future. Zhu Qingwen said thoughtfully, "I hope he can think it through. After all, the Qin family's future depends on him. I'm afraid it will be difficult for Qin Chang'an to come out this time." Zhu Qingwen's careless words seemed to have a conclusion about the Qin family's crisis, but no one knew what the process would be like. Wasn't everything like this? Not yet. Zhu Zhangshun smiled meaningfully, then turned around and got in the car. After Zhu Zhangshun left, Zhu Qingwen stood there in a daze for a few seconds. She had no idea what her husband and brother were planning. So far, she was just a messenger because she knew that both of them would listen to her. However, she had no idea how they had discussed it. Zhu Qingwen was not sure. Zhu Qingwen shook her head and smiled bitterly as she returned to the living room. Seeing that Qin Sheng had not come down yet, she said to Lin Su, "Su, why don't you go and see what Qin Sheng is doing?" Of course, Lin Su knew what her aunt meant. After informing her grandmother, she went upstairs. The old lady's expression did not look too good. She said unhappily, "Girl, are you hiding something from me? Why do I feel that you have been acting mysteriously lately?" Zhu Qingwen was shocked when she heard this. She was afraid that the old lady would know what was going on, so she quickly comforted her. "Mom, don't think too much. Why would we hide anything from you? Besides, even if we had something, would we be able to hide it from you? We don't dare either." The old lady said doubtfully, "That's good." When Lin Su went upstairs, Qin Sheng was sitting in the living room upstairs, smoking. He looked a little tired, which made Lin Su somewhat worried. She walked quickly to Qin Sheng, held his hand gently, and asked, "What's wrong?" Qin Sheng did not want Lin Su to worry too much, so he said with a smile, "Nothing. I just received a call. The company in Beijing is a little tricky. I'm thinking about how to deal with it." This was a white lie, as long as it could make Lin Su feel at ease. Lin Su believed it and asked, "Do you need to go back?" "No need. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about it," Qin Sheng said in a low voice. After staying with the old lady on Sinan Road until the afternoon, Qin Sheng left with Lin Su. Anyway, he would be in Shanghai recently, so he could come to see his grandmother at any time. In this way, his grandmother would not think too much. Fortunately, the matter of the Qin family had not been completely exposed. Once it was exposed, the news would be everywhere on TV, and the old lady would have to know it at that time. Therefore, the Zhu family was somewhat worried at present. After leaving Sinan Road, Lin Su went back to Lujiazui. There were more things to do in the company. In the evening, she would accompany her second uncle to attend a dinner party. As the big shots of the Ningbo Chamber of Commerce, how could the Lin family not attend the dinner party in Shanghai? Moreover, the Lin family would focus on Shanghai in the future, so they naturally needed to communicate with the big shots of the Ningbo Chamber of Commerce in Shanghai. Qin Sheng made an appointment with Bao Fan at the top floor bar of a hotel on the Bund. Although it was not yet evening, Qin Sheng still liked to see the scenery on both sides of the Huangpu River. He remembered that when he first arrived in Shanghai, he took Su Qin to the sightseeing hall of the World Financial Center. At that time, the construction of the Shanghai Center had not started. When Qin Sheng arrived, Bao Fan was already waiting there. This time, Qin Sheng came to Shanghai not only to relax, but also to appease the important officials of the Qin family in Shanghai. The Qin family's interests were not only in the Chang'an Group, but also in other interests. However, compared with the interests of the Chang'an Group, these interests were not worth mentioning, so many people forgot about these interests of the Qin family. As an important economic town, Shanghai was naturally the center of the Qin family, second only to Beijing. Such a big thing suddenly happened to the Qin family, which had such a great impact on the Chang'an Group. How could it not affect the internal affairs of the Qin family? It was said that when the tree fell, the monkeys would scatter. Now, the Qin family was like a group of dragons without a leader. Qin Sheng had just returned to the Qin family for less than a year. If it were not for Gongsun, they would have risen up in revolt. As for Shanghai, at least Bao Fan was here. However, Bao Fan's previous attitude towards the Qin family was not necessarily the same now, because Qin Chang'an had been there before. As long as Qin Chang'an was there, no one dared to take Qin Sheng lightly, because no one had the strength and right to challenge Qin Chang'an. Everything they had was given by the Qin family. However, the situation was different now. Qin Chang'an had an accident. Without Qin Chang'an, what would Bao Fan think? Whether in the past or after Qin Chang'an's accident, Qin Sheng had never been involved in the internal affairs of the Qin family. This was Qin Chang'an's intention, and also because Qin Chang'an believed that with Gongsun, Qin Sheng did not need to think about these things in the short term. After other things were settled, Qin Sheng could take time to deal with these things. Most importantly, once those things were settled, how could others not believe in Qin Sheng? Moreover, Gongsun would cooperate with Qin Sheng. Whoever wanted to cause trouble would have to weigh their own strength. However, now the Qin family chose to wait. No one knew how long they would have to wait, so it was very easy for them to get into trouble. Therefore, before Qin Sheng came to Shanghai this time, Gongsun had reminded him that it would be better to talk to Bao Fan and figure out Bao Fan's thoughts. This was because many people were waiting for the opinions of these few big shot. Naturally, Gongsun could not rebel against the Qin family, so the attitude of Bao Fan and the one in Shenzhen was more important. After seeing Qin Sheng walking over, Bao Fan immediately stood up and greeted him. "Young master, you are here." There were 2 other tables around the bar, but they were all Bao Fan's bodyguards. Without the protection of the Qin family, Bao Fan was very careful when he went out now. Qin Sheng held Bao Fan's hand and said, "Brother Bao, we haven't seen each other for a long time. Why are you so polite?" According to age and seniority, Qin Sheng should call Bao Fan Uncle Bao. In the beginning, he also called Bao Fan like this. Later, they became familiar with each other. In order to make their relationship closer, Qin Sheng called Bao Fan Brother Bao. In this way, they would be closer to each other. Bao Fan said casually, "Young master, things are different now. I have to pay attention." Qin Sheng did not know what Bao Fan meant by that. He could think of it positively or negatively. It all depended on how Qin Sheng thought. After the 2 sat down, Qin Sheng casually ordered a cup of Long Island iced tea, while Bao Fan ordered a cup of Yamazaki whiskey. Looking at the bustling Lujiazui and the Huangpu River, Bao Fan's mind wandered. "Brother Bao, how are things in Shanghai and Hangzhou while I'm away?" Qin Sheng asked in a deep voice. He was more or less concerned. After all, before he left Shanghai, he had caused such a big commotion. First, the Yan family was in turmoil. Then, a few big shots in Zhejiang fought with each other. Qin Sheng really had no idea what the situation was like now. Bao Fan explained truthfully, "The Yan family has been quiet. After Yan Chaozong disappeared inexplicably, the Yan family was in a mess. In the end, it was Old Master Yan who made the final decision. Half a month ago, Old Master Yan suddenly brought back a 10-year-old boy. It is said that he is the illegitimate child of the Yan family's eldest brother. He has been hidden for many years and has not been found. It seems that the Yan family has chosen to acquiesce to Yan Chaozong's death. They just treat him as a sacrifice in exchange for the peace of the Yan family. Because of this child, the Yan family has a successor. If not for this child, I'm afraid that Old Master Yan would not be so calm." Qin Sheng shook his head and smiled bitterly. He finally let go of the grudge with Yan Chaozong. Bao Fan echoed, "Indeed, at the beginning, there were people looking for the Yan family. As for who they were, young master should be very clear. But they were all turned down by Old Master Yan. The second brother of the Yan family was also held down by Old Master Yan. In the end, they chose to make peace." After asking about the Yan family, Qin Sheng asked again, "What about Zhejiang? After Third Master Wu died, what about them? What about the old monk?" Bao Fan let out a long sigh and said, "It's all a mess. Due to the sudden incident of the Qin family, Qin Sheng had no time to care about them. He could only kill them without burying them. He did not care whether they were Wu Yongchuan, the old monk, or others." Qin Sheng said indifferently, "Since it's a mess, let it be. It has nothing to do with us anymore." Seeing that Qin Sheng was not very interested, Bao Fan did not go into details. Originally, he wanted to talk about this farce. Just like what was said in the TV series, Drawing Sword, The northwest of Shangxi was already in a mess. The old monk started to clean up the internal affairs after he was done with the millstone for his grandson. Boss Hu and the Dugu family started to take advantage of the situation to rob Third Master Wu. Wu Yongchuan and a few other forces were fighting among themselves. It was really a wonderful drama. Bao Fan said somewhat worriedly, "Young master, you look very tired recently." Qin Shing let out a sigh and said, "How can I not be tired? However, I guess Brother Bao must have had a hard time during this period." Hearing this, Bao Fan immediately became nervous. Chapter 851. What happened to the Qin family might be suspicious to the outside world, but it could not be hidden from the big shots inside the Qin family. So Bao Fan knew what was going on from the very beginning. However, Bao Fan did not want to talk about these things when they met today, because he knew that Qin Sheng had been under too much pressure during this period and might have experienced a lot. It was not easy for him to come to Shanghai. If he put more pressure on him, he might not be able to bear it. However, Qin Sheng's sudden words surprised Bao Fan. He did not understand what Qin Sheng meant for a while. Was this the reason why Qin Sheng suddenly came to Shanghai? Why did Qin Sheng suddenly come to Shanghai? But he did not do anything. Even if he suspected Bao Fan, he did not have to come in person. Bao Fan did not answer this question in a hurry. He hesitated for a moment and replied, "Young master, did you hear any rumors? If you have anything to say, you can say it directly. I am not afraid of slanderous accusations." Qin Sheng took a sip of his cocktail and laughed. "Brother Bao, why are you so serious? I just said it casually. You must have had a hard time during this period. Such a big thing happened to the Qin family, and people's hearts are wavering. How much pressure are you under in Shanghai?" Bao Fan shook his head and smiled bitterly. "Young master, do you really mean this? Then what else do I mean?" Qin Sheng pretended not to understand. He had to figure out Bao Fan's thoughts in Shanghai this time, so that he could be completely at ease in the future. In fact, this was related to his choice in the future. If people's hearts were really wavering, and he could not control these big shots, he would definitely give up the Qin family's interests in this aspect. Since they had already put it this way, Bao Fan did not intend to guess each other anymore. It was not his style to hide things like this. Instead of letting Qin Sheng be suspicious, it was better to be honest. In this way they could trust each other in the future. So Bao Fan said directly, "Young master, I think you are suspecting me." "Why do you say so, Brother Bao? Is there anything I don't know?" Qin Sheng did not admit it and gave the initiative to Bao Fan. If Bao Fan was willing to talk about these things, he would trust Bao Fan more. Bao Fan stared at Qin Sheng very seriously. He no longer thought that today's meeting was just to reminisce about the past. He finally started to meet Qin Sheng face to face. At the same time, he had to make his position clear. He had to let Qin Sheng know that he, Bao Fan, still supported the Qin family without any hesitation. Indeed, during this period of time, many people had come to him, and some people had also said many things to him, asking him to leave the Qin family and establish his own family. However, Bao Fan rejected all of them, because Bao Fan knew more than them, and could see further than them. The most important thing was that his headquarters was in Shanghai. Who was the man in charge of Shanghai now? He was Qin Sheng's uncle, and the Zhus had been deeply rooted in Shanghai and Zhejiang for so many years. Even if Bao Fan had eaten the heart of a bear or the heart of a leopard, he would not dare to betray the Qin family and establish his own family at this time. No, no, no. Not at this time, not at any time. This was definitely not a wise choice, especially now that Qin Sheng had to take over. Qin Chang'an was not close to the Zhus, so he had nothing to do with the Zhus before. However, Qin Sheng was the Zhus' favorite. Could Bao Fan not see it clearly? Therefore, if it had nothing to do with feelings, and only talked about interests, Bao Fan would not betray the Qin family. Qin Xing, it's all thanks to Master Qin that I can be who I am today. It's not easy for me to get to where I am today from a nobody. It's really not easy. I won't say those emotional words, but I know how to be grateful and I don't have too much ambition. As for my character? We got along in Shanghai some time ago, so you should know something about me, Bao Fan said very sincerely, because this was related to the problem of how he would develop in Shanghai in the future. To take a step back, this might be related to his life and death. Bao Fan could become Master Qin's henchman and was even placed in an important position in Shanghai by Master Qin. It was not only because of his outstanding ability. There were many capable people, but there were not many smart people with great wisdom. Secondly, it was also because of Master Qin's appreciation for him. All these years, Master Qin had rarely made a mistake in judging people. Bao Fan was very clear that even if the Zhus were not involved, although Master Qin and the Qin family were in trouble, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. Those powerful enemies of the Qin family could take advantage of them when they were down, but they definitely would not have the chance to do so. Moreover, the bird that sticks out will be shot. The Qin family absolutely would not allow anyone to find fault at this time. If Bao Fan sought his own death, he could not blame others. At that time, he might be killed as a warning to the others. In the end, it would be those onlookers who benefited from the conflict. Considering all the pros and cons, Bao Fan absolutely had no intention of betraying the Qin family. Qin Xing still did not intend to take it seriously. He smiled and said, "I don't think Brother Bao will betray our Qin family. I still believe in Brother Bao's character. Moreover, for so many years, our Qin family has never mistreated Brother Bao. I believe that Brother Bao is not such a person. Young master, let's get straight to the point. Otherwise I will feel uneasy," Bao Fan said earnestly. He felt more and more pressure. Although Qin Xing was only a young man in his 30s, Bao Fan knew him better than anyone else. Based on the movements that Qin Xing had made some time ago, it showed that this young man's means were not simple. Moreover, Qin Xing represented the Qin family now. If Bao Fan really suspected Bao Fan, he would definitely be at a disadvantage when Bao Fan had time to deal with Bao Fan. Something happened to Master Qin. The Qin family was in turmoil. People's hearts are unpredictable and uneasy. During this time, there were indeed many people who came to me. Their intention was very simple. They were afraid that the fish in the moat would be affected by the fire at the city gate. They hoped that they could leave the Qin family to protect their wealth. Therefore, they wanted me to stand up for them, but I refused all of them. It's not that I, Bao Fan, dare to stand up for them, but I, Bao Fan, don't have this idea at all. They have all forgotten who gave them what they have today, but I haven't forgotten. Therefore, young master, you can rest assured. Anyone can betray the Qin family, but I, Bao Fan, will never do it. I was, am, and will definitely be, Bao Fan said firmly. His attitude was so firm that people had no choice but to believe him. Qin Xing put down the cup in his hand and stared at Bao Fan, trying to figure out whether Bao Fan's words were true or not. Recalling the bits and pieces of his interaction with Bao Fan, he did not dare to believe it completely, nor did he dare not to believe it completely. What if he was stabbed in the back when the time came? If he did not believe him, what if Bao Fan was forced to betray him? During this special period, people's hearts were unpredictable. Qin Xing did not dare to bet heavily. After a long time, Qin Xing asked sincerely, "Brother Bao, can I really believe you?" Bao Fan knew that Qin Xing was very hesitant. He did not blame Qin Xing for doubting him. Even if he was in his position, he would also doubt others. At this time, no one dared to believe others so easily. If he made a wrong judgment, it would be a big blow to the Qin family. However, Bao Fan had to let Qin Xing know his intention. He said earnestly, "Young master, you don't have to worry. Just wait and see what I do in the future. If I really have any ideas, you can ask Lao Chong to kill me. I will never fight back. Qin Shing's words made him trust Bao Fan a little more. He slowly stood up and walked behind Bao Fan. He patted Bao Fan's shoulder heavily and said, "Brother Bao, I will leave Shanghai to you. Don't let me down." Bao Fan stood up unhurriedly. His eyes were like torches as he replied, "Young master, don't worry. I will be in Shanghai." Qin Shing nodded heavily. Then he turned around and left. He trusted Bao Fan more or less, because he had no choice but to believe Bao Fan. There must be someone to guard Shanghai. If there was a revolt in Shanghai, other places would follow. This meant that the other half of the Qin family would be gone. However, Qin Shing did not completely believe Bao Fan. He would still keep an eye on every move in Shanghai. If there was any movement, he would definitely kill it in the cradle. It was already evening. Bao Fan originally wanted to treat Qin Shing to dinner and meet other people in Shanghai. This would also help to calm people's hearts. However, Qin Shing said that he was not in a hurry. He would be in Shanghai recently. He would treat everyone in person another day. Bao Fan did not say anything and watched Qin Shing get in the car and leave. After getting in the car, Qin Shing went straight to the Shanghai Music Hall. Qing had a piano performance there today. Although it was not her special performance, and there were other teachers and students from the Shanghai Music Academy, she was the last one. How good was Qing? Qin Shing originally had an appointment with Jiang Xianbang and Qing for dinner tonight. Now that he was back, he naturally had to report to them. Qing was now his woman. During this period, Qin Shing did not care much about her. If he still did not see her after coming back, it would be somewhat unreasonable. Qing might not say it, but she must be somewhat unhappy in her heart. When Qin Shing arrived at the Shanghai Music Hall, who knew that the performance had already come to an end? Originally, Jiang Xianbang had reserved a seat for him, which was next to him in the front row. At this time, Qin Shing could only sit at the back and quietly enjoy Qing exquisite performance on the stage. He was holding a large bouquet of roses in his hand, which was naturally for Qin. Qin Shing had never seen what Qing looked like on the stage. In the past, he had listened to Qing play the piano and the zither in Jiang Xianbang's old house. At that time, Qing looked as calm as water, like a fairy who had descended to the world, which always made people feel that it was not real. However, the Qing on the stage today looked different. She was like the most dazzling star in the night, bright and dazzling. Everyone's attention could not help but be attracted by her emotions. Every move was full of charm, as if this was the real her. After the song ended, Qing who was wearing a black dress, slowly stood up. She looked at the crowd with a smile and bowed slightly. The audience's thunderous applause lasted for a long time, saluting this talented great beauty. Not long after, Qing left the stage and went backstage. Only then did Qin Shing quickly got up with flowers in his arms and chased after her. Chapter 852. It was said that boys were raised poor and girls were raised rich. It seemed that most families were like this. After all, a boy was the future pillar of a family. He had to experience all kinds of hardships from an early age, just like how old Master Qin chose to take Qin Shing away from Siju City. It was because old Master Qin could guess that with Qin Shing's quirky character and the powerful background of the Qin and Zhu families, if he stayed in Siju City, Qin Shing was likely to go astray. Who asked Siju City to be so tempting? Therefore, it could be said that Qing who shone brilliantly on the stage, could achieve what she had today. It was all thanks to Jiang Xianbang, a man who was not her biological father but was better than her biological father. If Qing had stayed in her hometown, no matter how much money Jiang Xianbang gave her, this orphan would not have become what she was today. Music was not something that ordinary people could afford. Even those who were talented needed a lot of money to invest. Jiang Xianbang was not short of money these years. He was willing to invest anything for Qing Er, whether it was money or family love, as long as Qing Er liked it. Of course, Qing Er's achievements today could not be ignored because of her talent in music and her own efforts. It seemed that all of this was fate. In fact, with Qing Er's talent and conditions, as long as Qing Er was willing, Jiang Xianbang could make Qing Er a music superstar. For example, he could send her to a top foreign school for further study, participate in various top music competitions, cooperate with various top music teams and big shots, or spend a lot of money to package and promote Qing. Jiang Xianbang was not short of money or connections in this area. He was famous for being stubborn in the bund. This was easy for him. What's more, who did not like a beauty who was talented in music? It was just that Qing Er was not willing. She liked this kind of ordinary life. It was enough to be a music teacher. She went to class every day and occasionally went to perform and so on. If she was asked to live like that, it would be too tiring. Jiang Xianbang was not short of money, so he never thought of using Qing Er to make money. Moreover, he treated Qing Er as his own daughter. Everything was based on Qing Er's happiness. As long as Qing Er was not willing, he would not force her. If Qing Er liked it, he would definitely do his best. Therefore, Qing Er lived like this. She was like a fairy hidden in the big city of Shanghai, not feasting on the smoke and fire of the mortal world, yet returning to the ordinary. At this moment, tonight's performance was over. The audience was still discussing the stunning, beautiful pianist just now. It was really a combination of beauty and talent. Why hadn't they heard of her before? Of course, there were also teachers and students from the Shanghai Conservatory of Music. They naturally knew about this beautiful teacher from the school. She was of very special existence. The audience had dispersed, but the backstage was still lively. Qing Er was still greeting the musicians who would be collaborating with her on the same stage tonight. Of course, some young talents had already been fascinated by this great beauty. They took the initiative to talk to her, and finally asked for her contact information. However, they were all rejected by Qing Er very tactfully. She never needed a complicated circle of friends. For Qing Er it was already very late. Finally, after finishing these things, Qing Er was ready to leave. She knew that her uncle would also come tonight. She saw him on the stage. She reckoned that he would be waiting outside. Her uncle said that he would take her to dinner after the performance. Just when she just went out, Qing Er saw a lot of people surrounding outside. Most of them were carrying flowers or gifts in their hand. She originally thought that they were other people's admirers. Unexpectedly, these people saw her coming out and rushed forward at the same time. This shocked Qing Er. However, she had seen such a scene before. After calming down, she continued to walk forward. During this period she also saw a lot of acquaintances. They were all her pursuers and admirers. Some of them had been chasing after her for a long time, like the one who was beaten up by Qin Xing last time. However, Qing Er did not pay attention to anyone and continued to walk forward without hesitation. Those people were somewhat unwilling to give up. Fortunately, Jiang Xianbang had sent bodyguards to wait for Qing Er outside in advance. At this time, they finally came in handy. They directly blocked those pursuers outside, and did not let them get close to Qing Er. It was not until a guy who came late appeared that the two bodyguards stopped, because they had already recognized who the pursuer holding a large bouquet of roses was. Who else could it be except Qin Xing, the big pig trotter? After Qing Er stopped, she was a little surprised. She subconsciously looked up to the front. When she saw who the man was staring at her with a smirk on his face, Qing Er's delicate face, which had been as calm as water, burst into the brightest smile in an instant. She trotted to the man excitedly. At this time, Qing Er was no longer a fairy, but a down-to-earth little woman in love. Qin Shing had already opened his arms with one hand holding the flowers, waiting for Qing to jump into his arms. He seemed to enjoy this reunion at this moment, and he also liked the most real Qing in front of him. However, the surrounding pursuers and admirers were full of anger. They couldn't help but ask, "Who is this guy? What does he have to do with our great beauty? If he is her brother, they should hurry up and get closer to him. If he is her boyfriend, they should just beat him to death." At this time, Qing had already jumped into Qin Shing's arms. She hugged Qin Shing tightly and buried her face in Qin Shing's chest shyly. After missing him for such a long time, she finally broke out at this moment. She really missed this man. Qin Shing also hugged Qing tightly and gently touched her hair. Then he whispered in her ear, "There are so many people watching." Those pursuers and admirers hated Qin Shing to death. They had probably guessed the relationship between Qing and this man, but they still held a trace of hope in their hearts. They hoped that this was definitely not the existence that they were most worried about. Otherwise, they estimated that they would not have another chance. They were very envious, jealous, and hated that the man who was hugging the goddess Qing was not them. If it were them, they would probably wake up laughing even in their dreams. At this time, Qing suddenly made a very unexpected decision. After she let go of Qin Shing, she did not say anything. She slightly bent over and took off her high heels. After she got up, she directly took Qin Shing's hand and directly ran outside with a sneaky smile. Only then did Qin Shing come back to his senses. He understood why Qing took off her high heels. Then he was pulled by Qing and kept running forward, not caring about anything. Behind them, those pursuers and admirers wanted to chase after them, but they were stopped by Jiang Xianbong's 2 bodyguards. They were angry and wanted to fight, but they knew that their strength was far inferior. In the end, they could only be angry and did not dare to say anything. The two kept running forward like this until they were out of the Shanghai concert hall. Then they bent over and gasped for breath. For Qin Shing, this was nothing, but for Qing she had never been so crazy. She did not know why she was so impulsive tonight, but at that time she thought so. Qin Shing stared at Qing who was a little embarrassed, and did not know whether to laugh or cry. He had never seen Qing like this. He estimated that this was also the first time that Qing had been like this. He did not know whether she had scared her pursuers. It turned out that the goddess could also be so crazy. Qing saw Qin Shing staring at her and smiling, and asked with some doubts, "What are you laughing at?" Qin Shing shook his head and replied, "I'm laughing at you. Is the you in front of me really you?" Of course, Qing knew what Qin Shing meant. Thinking about it carefully, it was true. In the past, she was a quiet and beautiful woman, but today she was more like a crazy woman. So after thinking of this, Qing also laughed out loud. Qin Shing slowly squatted down and touched Qing scratched foot. He said with some distress, "Don't do this in the future." Qing muttered in a low voice, "It's not your fault. You suddenly appeared in front of me, I thought I recognized the wrong person. I just wanted to give you a surprise. Uncle Jiang knew that I came back today, and said that you had a performance tonight. Unfortunately, I was delayed by something in the afternoon. When I found out, it was already too late and I only made it in time for your last performance. Next time, I will definitely arrive in advance and not miss your performance." Qin Shing looked up and smiled. Qing touched Qin Shing's face and said very gently, "It's okay, I will play it for you whenever you want to listen." Silly girl. After Qin Shing stood up, he was somewhat touched and hugged Qing. Qing did not speak anymore. She was very happy and leaned her head on Qin Shing's chest, feeling his heartbeat and temperature. This was the most real Qin Shing, not the Qin Shing that only appeared in her dreams every day. She really wanted this moment to stop, to go on like this forever. Cough, cough. After a long time, a very sudden cough broke this warm moment. Qin Sheng and Qing came to their senses and looked at a very casually dressed little old man not far away. The little old man was naturally Jiang Xianbang, who had been here for a long time. He really could not wait anymore, so he coughed on purpose. Or maybe it was because, after experiencing that thing, Jiang Xianbang was very relaxed when he returned to Shanghai. He did not bear too much pressure like before and also let go of a lot of things. Now he just enjoyed life. It was as simple as that. I hope I didn't disturb your time alone. To be honest, I have been here for a long time, and I really can't hold on anymore. If you want to be tired of me, I will leave enough time for you later. Jiang Xianbang deliberately joked. Qing said a little embarrassedly, Uncle. Qin Sheng let go of Qing and walked to Jiang Xianbang. Uncle Jiang. Good, your mental state is good. I thought you would be very tired. It seems that everything has not beaten you yet. Jiang Xianbang said with interest. He did not expect Qin Sheng to return to Shanghai so soon. Such a big thing happened to the Qin family, it would at least take a few months to deal with it. Unless the situation stabilized, otherwise it would be difficult for Qin Sheng to return to Shanghai in a short time, so he had already given Qing a heads-up in advance. Qin Sheng laughed and said, It's still early, I won't fall so easily. That's good. Jiang Xianbang said quietly, then looked at Qin Sheng and Qing and continued, I guess you are also hungry, let's go to eat first, if there is anything else we can talk later. Qin Sheng and Qing looked at each other and did not have any opinion. They smiled and followed Jiang Xianbang to get in the car and leave. The episode just now would be very clear even after 10 or 20 years. Chapter 853. After the last incident, Jiang Xianbang was like a retired 50-year-old man. He was more casual and indifferent. He did not have many pursuits. He only wanted to enjoy life for the rest of his life. In this life, Jiang Xianbang had obtained a lot of things, such as money and beautiful women, but they all became worldly possessions. If Qing did not exist, Jiang Xianbang would really be alone. At this time, Jiang Xianbang was so lonely, so he was very glad that he made the choice to bring Qing to Shanghai. These years, he really treated Qing as his own daughter. If one day he really had an accident or died, all his things would naturally be left to Qing. After leaving, Qin Sheng sat in Jiang Xianbang's Bentley. Jiang Xianbang naturally sat in the passenger seat, leaving Qin Sheng and Qing in the back seat. Tsk. Jiang Xianbang was such a competent uncle. He worried so much about Qing happiness, which made Qin Sheng feel a little embarrassed. It seemed that Uncle Jiang had become his bodyguard. In order to celebrate the success of Qing performance, Jiang Xianbang booked a place in a Japanese restaurant on Middle Huaihai Road, which was relatively close to his old foreign-style house. Qing liked to eat Japanese food. Jiang Xianbang did not have any pursuit of food. After all, he was born in a poor family and ate whatever could fill his stomach since he was young. He was not as pretentious as those rich families. On the way, Jiang Xianbang casually asked, How long will you stay this time? Jiang Xianbang knew the current situation of the Qin family. As the pillar of the Qin family, no matter why Qin Sheng came to Shanghai, it was impossible for him to stay there for too long. The Qin family was such a big business. How could they just leave it alone? Not sure yet. I may stay for a few more days. There is nothing much to do in Beijing now. It is more comfortable to stay in Shanghai, Qin Sheng replied with a smile, holding Qing hand. Hearing this, Qing was a little happy. She was afraid that Qin Sheng would leave in a few days. She did not have much time with Qin Sheng. Even if he was in Shanghai, they could only see each other for a few days. If he went back to Beijing, she did not know when they would meet again. She could not go to Beijing to disturb Qin Sheng. Jiang Xianbang was more or less confused. He was very clear about the situation of the Qin family. Otherwise, How could Qin Shing have time to go back to Shanghai? But he could only say, "That's fine. I don't have so much energy. I can't let this girl stay at home every day. You know she has no friends." Qin Shing thought it was reasonable. It seemed that it was summer vacation now. Qing who had no friends, seldom went out. She spent most of her time at home. Although she also liked this kind of life, it was easy to have problems if she did it often. So Qin Shing readily agreed, and said that if there was nothing to do, he could take Qing to a nearby place to relax. At dinner, Qin Shing and Jiang Xianbang drank some sake. Qing also drank some plum wine, but she did not drink too much. She was not a good drinker. If she drank too much, she would get drunk easily. Lao Chang also joined them for dinner and chatted with Chang Baji about some topics that both of them were interested in. After all, Jiang Xianbang made his fortune in that aspect, while Lao Chang had some attainments in geomancy and geomancy. After dinner, Qin Shing followed Jiang Xianbang and Qing back to the old foreign-style house not far away. Qing boiled a pot of tea for them to sober up. It seemed that she knew that her uncle and Qin Shing had something to talk about. So she went back to her room and did not disturb them. Men always had a lot of things to do. Moreover, she knew that Qin Shing had been very busy recently. Lao Chang and the others were waiting in the car outside. Qin Shing and Jiang Xianbang sat opposite each other. There was no one else in the living room except for them. They could say whatever they wanted to say. Jiang Xianbang took the lead and asked, "Did something happen? Why did you come back to Shanghai all of a sudden?" Qin Shing said honestly, "Uncle Jiang, you think too much. It's really nothing. I just came back to relax." It seemed that everyone was so worried about him when he came back to Shanghai all of a sudden. After all, the Qin family had been in such a big trouble. Jiang Xianbang squinted and said, "What about your family? Your father?" Jiang Xianbang had heard about the Qin family long ago. However, when the rumor became the truth, he was still somewhat shocked. After all, that was the famous Master Qin. It was not easy for Master Qin to settle the matter, but now he was in a mess. How could he not sigh with emotion? Qin Shing said lightly, "Well, something happened to the Qin family. The old man was also taken away. Now the Qin family is a mess. No one knows in which direction things will go. Maybe." Jiang Xianbang was confused and said, "Then you still have the mood to go back to Shanghai to relax?" Qin Shing did not want to say too much. He replied directly, "Uncle Jiang, you don't have to worry about this. I know what I'm doing. Such a big thing is not easy for anyone to solve. Now Siju City is a place of trouble. Maybe we can see it more clearly when we leave there. We are just waiting now." Jiang Xianbang let out a long sigh and said, "Forget it. I don't want to ask about these things. It's not easy for you to come out to relax. I don't want to put more pressure on you. I think you must be exhausted during this period. As long as you know what you are doing, it's okay. Besides, you are not alone." Qin Shing did not say anything. He just picked up the teacup thoughtfully. Maybe his departure would also disrupt many people's plans. Even Jiang Xianbang and the others could not figure it out. Maybe others also felt the same. It was not late. After drinking a few cups of tea, Qin Shing slowly stood up and said, "Uncle Jiang, it's not early. I'll go back first. You can tell Qing." Jiang Xianbang frowned slightly and said, "It's so late. You still want to go back? This is also your home. You can't let Qing be sad. After all, she is your woman. If you leave like this, women will always think nonsense." Qin Shing was a little hesitant. He naturally understood what Uncle Jiang meant. He could do whatever he wanted and Uncle Jiang would not stop him. But Qing would think too much. He had to give Qing an identity after all. "Well, then I won't go." Qin Shing finally made up his mind. After all, it would come to this step sooner or later. He would never push Qing to others. He could not be cruel and could not do it. so there was no need to hide it anymore. Jiang Xianbang said with satisfaction, "That's more like it. Then I'll rest first." Jiang Xianbang directly left after saying that. Qin Xing did not know whether to laugh or cry. This old guy was afraid that he would not be responsible for Qing. He could not wait for Qing to become his woman. In this way, he would not have to worry anymore. After all, the only person in his life that he still worried about was Qing. Qin Xing stayed downstairs for a while. Then he told Lao Chang and the others to go directly and pick him up the next morning. Finally, he called Lin Su and told her to stay at Uncle Zhang's place tonight and not to wait for him. After hanging up the phone, Qin Xing more or less felt guilty. But he did not want to think about it. Some things were just like this. He did not want to lose anyone else, at least he would not leave Qing behind. After going upstairs, Qin Xing walked to the door of Qing room with ease. He knocked on the door slowly. Qing quickly came out and opened the door. She did not even ask who it was. It seemed that she felt that it might be Qin Xing. After all, in this house, only Uncle Jiang and the housekeeper Uncle Wang would usually knock on the door. But they did not knock like this, so it could only be Qin Xing. When Qing was about to take a shower, she did not expect Qin Xing to come in. She did not know whether Qin Xing would stay or go back tonight. If he stayed, she would be very happy, because she had already regarded herself as Qin Xing's woman. Once she made a decision, she would not regret it. If he went back, she would not be sad, but she would definitely be a little disappointed. Maybe Qin Xing had other things to do. After Qing opened the door and saw it was Qin Xing, she felt a little happy in her heart. But she was embarrassed and asked, "Where is Uncle?" "I'm a little sleepy. I went to rest," Qin Xing said casually. Qing did not know what Qin Xing wanted to do. She stood at the door and felt a little uneasy. Unexpectedly, Qin Xing directly took her hand and walked inside. He closed the door and said, "I'm also sleepy. I won't go back tonight." Hearing this, Qing finally understood what was going on. She was a little happy but also a little nervous. Although she had known Qin Xing for a long time, they had only been together for once. She was not used to it yet. However, Qing had long prepared for this day. Not only did she prepare pajamas and men's toiletries for Qin Xing, but she also bought some spare clothes for him. Because it was still the same sentence. Since she had chosen to be Qin Xing's woman, she would never regret it. She was already Qin Xing's woman in this life. Even if Qin Xing did not want her one day, she would always wait for him. Qin Xing was already familiar with the environment of the room last time. It was completely designed according to Qing Er's style. It was simple and elegant, not so exaggerated. Whether it was the cloakroom or the bathroom, they were all very big. Qin Xing liked the medium-sized balcony the most. At night, it was very comfortable to enjoy the breeze and drink a little wine there. Qin Xing pulled Qing to sit on the bed. The atmosphere was a little ambiguous and awkward. Qing who was inexperienced and had never been in love, did not know where to put her hands and feet, let alone say anything at this time. Fortunately, in order to ease the atmosphere, Qin Xing said, "Did you miss me during this period?" "Yes," Qing replied in a low voice. Qin Xing touched Qing hair and said, "In the future, if you miss me, just call me. Don't be too shy. You are my woman. If you treat me like an outsider, I will feel uncomfortable." "Got it," Qing replied in the same voice. This made Qin Xing somewhat at a loss. Qin Xing did not know whether to laugh or cry. It was like a bad uncle abducting a little girl. After all, this was Qing. No one would dare to blaspheme her. Perhaps Qing felt that it was not good to do this. Finally, she plucked up her courage and said, "I will go to prepare the bathwater for you. Then let's bathe together?" For some reason, Qin Xing said such words to tease Qing but he regretted it after saying it. What if Qing got angry? Fortunately, Qing was not angry. She just blushed and shook her head. "No. This look was really too tempting. Qin Sheng, who was a little drunk, was really afraid that he could not control himself and directly took Qing on the spot. But in the end, he felt that he should not be too hasty. He should take it step by step and leave Qing a beautiful process. So he got up and walked into the bathroom, saying that he could casually take a bath. When the bathroom door was closed, Qing let out a long sigh of relief. She felt a little guilty and stamped her feet and complained, "I am so stupid." Chapter 854. A relationship by leaps and bounds. In the end, what should have happened that night did not happen. After Qin Sheng came out of the shower, he received a call from his aunt and sister. Something unexpected happened in Beijing, and they needed to discuss countermeasures. So Qin Sheng sat on the balcony, smoking and talking on the phone. When Qing came out of the shower, Qin Sheng was still on the phone. It seemed that things were a little tricky. Qing did not want to disturb Qin Sheng, so she lay on the bed and waited for him. Who knew that she would fall asleep while waiting? Maybe she was too tired today and drank some wine. She could not resist the drowsiness and fell asleep just like that. Qin Sheng came out after the phone call and saw that Qing was asleep. He did not know whether to laugh or cry. He carefully covered her with the quilt, then lay beside her quietly and stared at her with interest. He could not help but lower his head and kiss her. He really did not know how Qing had persevered all these years. She did not lack pursuers since childhood, but did no one really enter her heart? Or was it because of Uncle Zhang's protection? Not long after, Qin Sheng was also sleepy. He just lay down beside Qing and fell asleep. In the middle of the night, Qing subconsciously hugged Qin Sheng. Perhaps it was because she subconsciously knew that it was Qin Sheng, so she did not wake up. She slept very comfortably that night. In a resort hotel at the foot of Changbai Mountain in the far north, compared to the hot and stuffy Shanghai, this was really a holy place for summer vacation. Although it was summer, this high-standard resort hotel had a high occupancy rate. In the standalone villa of the hotel, Zhao Anji and Qin Ran were still awake. Yaya had gone to the mountain during the day and was too sleepy to sleep. This time, Zhao Anji brought Qin Ran and Yaya along. Zhuangzhou and Nangong were also there. After all, in such a place, for safety reasons, Zhao Anji did not dare to be careless. After the Qin family's accident, Nangong seemed to disappear for a period of time. No one knew what she was doing. It seemed that Gongsun had arranged some task for her. She did not come back until Zhao Anji and the others came to Changbai Mountain. Zhuangzhou had been in the northeast, so he came directly. "Aunt, we really don't care about the Chang and school?" They finally couldn't sit still anymore. Taking advantage of the fact that the old man wasn't around, they started to purge the old man's trusted subordinates wantonly. Then, they installed their own people. This was very dangerous for the Qin family. Zhao Anji said calmly, "When you chose to listen to the Zhu family's suggestion, you should have known that these things would happen. Since we have to wait, let's deal with them by remaining unchanged. Isn't it just a purge of the Qin family? This will happen sooner or later. They can do whatever they want." Qin Ran said angrily, "Aunt, I know. But I still feel a little uncomfortable. The Chang'an school was built by my father. It's really not easy for it to get to where it is today. I don't want to see them do this. Those people used to be her uncles. She had seen them many times since she was a child. In her eyes, they were all kind and amiable elders. Every time they saw her, they would smile. But now, when the Qin family was in the most difficult time, they wanted to put the Qin family into a dead end. It was a little windy outside, blowing the gauze curtain with the wind. Zhao Anji stood up and closed the balcony window. When she came back, she said, "Xing just said that these are actually small fights. It's not a big deal. When they start to use their subordinates and start to move the Chang and school's assets, it won't be too late for us to fight back. Moreover, it all depends on the direction of your father's situation. Our worst plan is to completely give up the interests of the Chang'an school. Qin Ran let out a long sigh and said, "Alas, give it up. As long as my father is fine." She didn't know how long she could hold on. It was just the beginning. If one day the Qin family would be exhausted. So what if she gave up these so-called interests? Zhao Anji comforted her and said, Ran, I've thought a lot these days. Even if we really lose everything, so what? As long as our family can be safe, it will be fine, right? Hearing her aunt's words, Qin Ran felt much better and stopped thinking about those things. People gathered and wealth scattered. No one could have both fish and bear paws. The Qin family couldn't be so greedy. Maybe her father had already thought of all the ways to retreat. In the dead of the night, the moon was bright and the stars were sparse. Changbai Mountain's night was really charming. It was not something that could be experienced in Shanghai with its bright lights. The next morning, when Qing opened her eyes, she was shocked when she saw a man lying beside her. She wanted to scream subconsciously, but the next second, she remembered that it was Qin Xing. Her memory from last night also flowed back. It seemed that she was waiting for Qin Xing on the bed, while he was on the balcony making a call. Then she fell asleep unknowingly. After that, Qin Xing must have seen her fall asleep after the call, so he didn't disturb her and just slept beside her. Thinking of this, Qin couldn't help but feel a little annoyed. Why was she so stupid? Qin Xing was still in a deep sleep. Qin was very embarrassed, so she quietly got up and washed up before going to prepare breakfast. It was such a beautiful night, but she couldn't sleep. Qin more or less blamed herself. But soon after, her face turned red. What was she thinking about? When Qin prepared breakfast, Jiang Xianbang also woke up. Both him and Qin had a more regular schedule in the Writers' Association. Other than having social engagements at night and sleeping late, they almost always woke up at this time. He went downstairs and saw Qin preparing breakfast. Jiang Xianbang was a little surprised. Logically, she shouldn't have woken up so early. Hence, Jiang Xianbang walked into the dining room. After looking at Qin Jiang Xianbang knew what was going on. It seemed that there was no movement last night. After all, he was experienced. He could tell what was going on with just a few looks. "Uncle, you're up?" Qin greeted, a little embarrassed. Jiang Xianbang casually sat down and picked up the newspaper. "Is Qin Xing still asleep?" "Yeah, he called a little late last night." "He's still asleep now," Qin explained softly. Jiang Xianbang knew that this girl was shy, so he did not continue asking. He was really worried about this girl. Forget it. Let the young people deal with their own matters. Maybe everything will come naturally. Qin Xing woke up after an hour. Seeing that Qin was not by his side, he knew that this girl had already woken up. He washed up and went downstairs. Downstairs, Qin was brewing tea and playing the guqin. Maybe it was because Qin Xing had not woken up yet. Qin who used to practice at this time every day, did not practice today. When Qin saw Qin Xing coming down, she quickly walked over and said, "You're up." Qin Xing touched Qin's hair and said, "Why didn't you call me when you got up?" "I wanted you to sleep a little longer." Qin pursed her lips and chuckled. She seemed to enjoy Qin Xing's head touching. It seemed that all women in love were like this. They did not care if you were a strong woman or a little fairy. Jiang Xianbang was fiddling with his antique. Without raising his head, he asked, "How was your sleep? Are you used to it?" After saying that, Jiang Xianbang felt that his words were a little ambiguous. Qin Xing did not know how to answer. Fortunately, Qin directly pulled Qin Xing to the dining room, which avoided the awkwardness. After eating breakfast, drinking 2 pots of tea and listening to a few songs, it was time for Qin Xing to leave Middle Huaihai Road. Chang Baji was already waiting outside. Qin came out to send Qin Xing off. She was still so reluctant when they parted. She knew that even if Qin Shing returned to Shanghai, he would be very busy. Moreover, she did not know when they would return to Beijing and when they would meet again. So Qing was very reluctant to leave Qin Shing. "Sorry, I fell asleep last night," Qing said with self-blame. Qin Shing hugged Qing and said gently, "Silly girl, what are you thinking about? When the typhoon is over, I'll take you out to relax." Although she was reluctant, Qing still had to say goodbye. She watched Qin Shing leave until the two cars disappeared at the end of the alley. Then she turned around and went back. After leaving Middle Huaihai Road, Qin Shing went directly to Huarun 9 Mile Bund. How could he not visit his good Brother Lei when he returned to Shanghai? Brother Lei was seriously injured in the last incident. During this period of time, he had been recuperating. However, he had already been discharged from the hospital. Now Hao Lei was living in Han Bing's mansion in Huarun 9 Mile Bund. It was said that he could already walk, but it would take at least 2 months for him to fully recover. Qin Shing was glad that Han Bing was taking care of Hao Lei. Otherwise, Hao Lei really did not know how he would spend the next 6 months. Qin Shing was very busy in Shanghai. Now that such a big thing happened to the Qin family, it was impossible for him to take care of Hao Lei at all times. At most, he could only entrust someone to take care of him and then help Hao Lei hire 2 nannies. However, after a long time, it was easy for Hao Lei's mentality to have problems. Therefore, Qin Shing was really grateful to Han Bing. Just like that time when he was in trouble, Lin Su had been taking care of him. If not for Lin Su, who knew what would happen to him now? As for how the relationship between Hao Lei and Han Bing was now, Qin Shing did not need to guess. After such a long time of being together, the relationship between the two had changed qualitatively. Qin Shing did not have the energy to take care of Han Bing, so he had been rejecting her. Perhaps Han Bing had already made a new choice. After all, since the Han family was in trouble, it was not him who had been accompanying Han Bing, but Hao Lei. When Qin Shing and Chang Baji entered the door, Han Bing was helping Hao Lei to do recovery exercises. These were all learned by Han Bing from the doctor, just so that Hao Lei could recover faster. In addition to Han Bing herself, she also hired 2 caregivers, plus the nanny who cooked and cleaned every day. This house was quite lively, so Hao Lei seemed to be in a good mood. Hao Lei and Han Bing were both dressed in loose sportswear, looking like a couple. Qin Shing was very happy to see them. It seemed like it was just as he thought. Han Bing and Hao Lei might have gotten together, but he just did not know it yet. Or maybe they were not ready to tell him yet. To Han Bing, Hao Lei might not be the most suitable candidate, but he was definitely the best choice. Han Bing had seen how Hao Lei treated her in the past 2 years. It was only because she liked Qin Shing previously that she directly ignored Hao Lei's existence. However, she knew that it was because of Hao Lei's careful care and protection that she could get through danger several times. Now she had completely understood this man. He had all the qualities that a man should have. He was responsible, knew how to take care of others, and knew how to love her. Moreover, Hao Lei was also quite handsome and had been in the army before. Wasn't such a boyfriend good enough? To Hao Lei, the biggest benefit of this injury was that his relationship with Han Bing had improved by leaps and bounds. It was also because of this that he was incomparably happy every day, which was why he could recover so quickly. However, the only worry was that he did not know how to face Qin Shing, which was somewhat embarrassing. Therefore, when Hao Lei and Han Bing saw Qin Shing walking in, the two of them subconsciously immediately separated, as if they did not want Qin Shing to see how intimate they were. Hao Lei almost lost his balance. Han Bing quickly held him, so that he did not fall to the ground. When Qin Shing saw this scene, he could not help but laugh. Why did it look like he was here to catch them in the act? Chapter 855. Let me try. Chapter 855. Let me try. At this moment, the atmosphere here was somewhat awkward. Hao Lei's expression was very unnatural, while Han Bing was a little uneasy. The two nurses that they hired did not know what was going on, but they could feel that the atmosphere was not right. Qin Sheng did not know what to say, as if whatever he said would be wrong. In the end, Chang Baji could not help coughing a few times and said with a smile, "How long have you forgotten us? Why didn't you invite us in?" As the host, Han Bing came back to her senses. She signaled the two nurses to take care of Hao Lei. She calmed down and walked over quickly. She replied a little stiffly, "Long time no see." It had been more than a month. Besides going to work, Han Bing took care of Hao Lei. Her life was quite fulfilling and ordinary. There was no pressure in Shanghai. Tang Shi was still secretly protecting her, so Han Bing was not in any danger. If it was in the past, Han Bing would often call or send Qin Sheng a WeChat message. But this time she almost did not. Was it because Qin Sheng was too busy and did not want to disturb her, or she did not want to make Hao Lei jealous? Hao Lei was already sitting on the sofa with the help of the nurses. Qin Sheng and Chang Baji sat next to him. Han Bing was a little embarrassed, so she went to the kitchen and said that she wanted to make some fruits for Qin Sheng and Chang Baji. Qin Sheng did not stop her. "How is your recovery?" Qin Sheng and Hao Lei did not need to be too polite, so they asked directly. Hao Lei laughed at himself and said, "Just like before, much better than before. The doctor said that I can do recovery training, and it will probably take 2 or 3 months for me to recover. Alas, I am half a disabled person now, and I can't do anything. Fortunately, Han Bing is taking care of me, or I really don't know what to do. Thanks to Han Bing, I have a lot less to worry about, or I would have to send you back to Xi'an. I am a little worried about leaving you alone in Shanghai," Qin Sheng said in a low voice. No matter what, Hao Lei was injured because of him. After all, Hao Lei followed him to Shanghai and had been working for him. He had to be responsible for Hao Lei. Hao Lei did not like to be pretentious, so he replied, "We are brothers, so don't say these words." "Ha ha ha, then I won't say it. I hope you can recover soon." Qin Sheng laughed. At this time, Hao Lei looked at Qin Sheng and Chang Baji thoughtfully and said, "I heard that you have been in Beijing recently. Did something happen? I called you a few times, but you didn't pick up. In the end, you didn't even reply. I asked Han Bing, but she didn't know either. This made me a little worried." Qin Sheng didn't want Hao Lei to think too much. He said casually, "Something happened at home. It's nothing serious. Don't worry about it." Hao Lei sighed and said, "It's a pity that I can't help you. When I recover, we can fight side by side again." After so many years of friendship, Hao Lei was the only one who could keep going until now. Qin Sheng and Hao Lei were real brothers. They could put their lives in each other's hands. Therefore, there was no need for words. They were very clear about each other's feelings. Therefore, Qin Sheng would not treat Hao Lei badly. Qin Sheng patted Hao Lei's shoulder gently and said, "Take good care of yourself. We will wait for you." Although there were some things that Hao Lei didn't want to mention, every time he saw Qin Sheng, he couldn't help talking about Su Qin. That was the thing about Su Qin. He couldn't let go of it. He always felt that it would be a pity if they just separated like this. After all, he had watched them go from high school to college. So many years of love had broken up just like that. It was really sad. However, Qin Sheng had Lin Su now. Their relationship had also gone through a lot of setback. Hao Lei couldn't say anything more. But Su Qin was his friend after all. He hoped that Su Qin could be happy, but she didn't have a good life. Hao Lei still couldn't help asking, "You haven't contacted Su Qin since?" Qin Sheng was a little surprised. He didn't know why Hao Lei suddenly mentioned Su Qin. He and Su Qin hadn't contacted each other for a long time. Since the incident in Xi'an, Qin Sheng had made up his mind not to disturb Su Qin's life anymore. Su Qin was his first girlfriend of 6 years. He also hoped that Su Qin could be happy. He also knew that he couldn't give Su Qin happiness, so he made up his mind. No, what's wrong? Qin Xing replied honestly. Hao Lei sighed and said, if you have time, give Su Qin a call. It seems that she's not having a good life. Qin Xing was stunned subconsciously. Not having a good life? What's wrong? Could it be that something happened to her? However, Qin Xing didn't ask anything in the end. At this time, Han Bing finished washing the fruits and came out. Seeing that they were chatting happily and the atmosphere was not as awkward as before, she finally let out a long sigh of relief. Otherwise, she would really be restless. After Han Bing sat down, she chatted with Qin Xing and Chang Baji about the old days. She asked them how they were doing recently, which was almost the same as what Hao Lei had asked just now. Qin Xing also evaded with a smile. After all, Han Bing was different from Hao Lei. She didn't need to know too much about these trivial things. Qin Xing and Chang Baji had lunch here. Tang Shi also came over. During this period of time, Tang Shi had been in Shanghai. Apart from working for Bao Fan, he spent the rest of his time protecting Han Bing and taking care of Hao Lei. It was said that he had a girlfriend, who was a nurse in Ruijin Hospital. The two of them were developing quite well now. Qin Xing was also gratified by this. He hoped that everyone around him could live a good life. The old friends met and chatted happily. Qin Xing asked Tang Shi to bring his girlfriend along next time. When they got married, he would give her a big gift. Tang Shi was a little embarrassed and said that he could do it. His current life was quite good and he was quite happy with Brother Bao. Moreover, he also knew that this was just a happy occasion. After Brother Lei recovered, they might go to find Brother Qin. After lunch, Han Bing helped the nanny clean up. Qin Xing and Hao Lei went to the balcony to enjoy the breeze. As a famous mansion in Shanghai, the scenery of Huarun 9 Mile Bund was very good. The two of them chatted here. After a while, Qin Xing asked, How is it? How is it going with Han Bing? Qin Xing suddenly opened his mouth. Hao Lei was stunned and did not know how to answer. His relationship with Han Bing was indeed developing well, but until now, they had not confirmed their relationship. Whether it was him or Han Bing, they both felt awkward because of their relationship with Qin Xing. After all, Han Bing used to like Qin Xing, and Hao Lei and Qin Xing had such a relationship. Why? Is it because of me? Qin Xing said with a smile. Hao Lei still did not answer this question. He really liked Han Bing. He could also feel that Han Bing now liked him a little. Maybe it was because of the time they spent together. However, he was not sure whether Han Bing had let go of Qin Xing or not. If she had not, his sudden confession might break the current situation. He was afraid that this kind of life would be ruined, and they could not even be friends in the future. Qin Xing said happily, When did you become so timid? Let me ask you one question. Do you like Han Bing? Yes. Hao Lei did not hesitate this time. He said very firmly. Qin Xing patted Hao Lei's shoulder and said, Brother, if you like her, then go after her. Don't think that if you go after Han Bing just because she liked me in the past, you will let me down. If I, Qin Xing, really do that, then I will be too King useless. I can't give Han Bing happiness, can't I let others give it to me? If someone can take care of Han Bing for me, I will be worthy of Uncle Han who died. Lao Qin, do you really not have a grudge in your heart? Hao Lei was still a little worried. This was his biggest worry. It did not mean that he did not dare to like Han Bing just because Han Bing liked Qin Xing. When Su Qin liked Qin Xing, didn't he also like Su Qin? Qin Xing chuckled and said, We have been together for so many years. Am I that kind of person? I know. Hao Lei seemed to have made up his mind. The most important thing was that Qin Xing had brought up this topic today. He did not have any taboo. Since he was so afraid of something, he just had to try his best to chase after her. As for the result, it was no longer important. He could not always like her so much, but not have the courage to chase after her. Qin Shing finally held Hao Lei's hand and said, "If you can really be together, then take care of Han Bing for me. She is a good girl. I believe you will treat her well. Don't let her down." At this point, Hao Lei did not have to worry anymore. He nodded heavily and said, "Don't worry, I will." The biggest knot in Hao Lei's heart had been untied. Qin Shing believed that the next time he saw them, their relationship might have been confirmed. Then he would be happy for them from the bottom of his heart. However, he did not know what Han Bing thought, so Qin Shing had to ask her tentatively. The relationship between the three was indeed a little complicated. Han Bing used to like him because he appeared by her side when she was lonely and helpless. Not only did he help her deal with her father's affairs, but he also protected her from any harm. It was like a person who had finally found a ray of light in the darkness, so she placed all her hopes on him. In fact, this might not be true love. After Qin Shing and Hao Lei finished talking, they returned to the living room. Han Bing had already packed up. It was almost time. Qin Shing and Chang Baji were ready to leave. Han Bing personally sent them out. On the way out, Qin Shing could talk to Han Bing. He was really worried about them. He hoped that they could break the stone in their hearts and get together as soon as possible. In this way, he would be completely relieved. "During this period, I really thank you for taking care of Hao Lei," Qin Shing said sincerely. Han Bing chuckled and said, "You don't have to be so polite. Brother Lei is also my friend. What's more, he was injured while protecting me. If I did not drag him down, he would not have suffered such a serious injury." "Ha ha, I'm just saying. But it seems that you get along quite well during this period," Qin Shing said casually. This made Han Bing a little at a loss. She did not know what Qin Shing meant, so she could only smile awkwardly. Qin Shing continued, "Han Bing, do you like Hao Lei? Don't worry about anything. Just answer your heart." Qin Shing stared at Han Bing with sincerity. Han Bing could not avoid Qin Shing's gaze at all. She wanted to say that she did not like him, but she could not do so no matter how hard she tried. Who asked her to like Hao Lei a little, but who asked her to like Qin Shing in the past? This made her feel like she had been caught cheating, and now Qin Shing was questioning her. "A little," Han Bing finally answered honestly. Hearing this, Qin Shing was overjoyed. In this way, things were already half done. You like me and I like you. There were no family obstacles and so on. Next, they would naturally be together. Qin Shing said happily, "That's good. You can see that Hao Lei actually likes you too. Since you also like him, then I can rest assured and hand you over to him. I can also give Uncle Han an explanation." Han Bing lowered her head slightly. No one knew what she was thinking. It seemed that she could not like Qin Shing anymore after she liked Hao Lei. But she really did not completely let go of Qin Shing. "What's wrong? Are you afraid that I will overthink if you like me in the past and now you like Hao Lei?" Qin Shing shook his head and smiled bitterly. "I won't overthink because I hope you can be happy. Hao Lei is my brother. I know him very well and I also know that he can give you happiness. So I hope you can be together. If it was someone else, I would be a little worried." Han Bing still did not say anything. Qin Shing continued, "Do you know why I rejected you in the past? Because when Uncle Han handed you over to me, I really only treated you as a sister. But at that time, you were too dependent on me, so I did not dare to make you too sad. Because I want you to be happy every day. Now, finally, there is someone who can replace me. I can also let go completely." Han Bing finally raised her head and said, "Do you not want me anymore? That's why you said that on purpose?" "How could I not want you? I promised Uncle Han that I would take care of you, but I can't delay your happiness." Qin Shing touched Han Bing's hair, and did not know whether to laugh or cry. Hearing this, Han Bing gritted her teeth and asked, "Do you really think that Hao Lei is really suitable for me?" After such a long time together, you should know each other very well. I think you should have the answer in your heart, so why not give it a try? Qin Xing continued to comfort Han Bing so that she would not think too much about other things. Ever since she realized that she liked Hao Lei, she gradually let go of Qin Xing. This was because she seemed to know that Qin Xing was no longer the Qin Xing of the past. He had a lot of things to do, and could not take care of himself at all. Qin Xing could not give her what she wanted. If she kept insisting on it, she would be the one who would get hurt in the end. That was why she started to try to get in touch with others. During this period of time together, she was very clear in her heart that Hao Lei liked her too. In addition, she liked Hao Lei a little too. That was why they were so happy together. Thinking of this, and thinking of all the things that Hao Lei had done for her, Han Bing finally nodded and said, "Then I'll give it a try." Hearing this, Qin Xing was completely satisfied. He did not expect that he could solve this trivial thing that had been entangled in his heart today. His job as a matchmaker was finally over. No matter what, he hoped that after they really got together, they could be happy. Chapter 856. Lovers finally got married. Qin Xing was really happy for them. He also let go of this worry completely. Otherwise, he would always worry about them. After all, they were all his closest friend. Qin Xing hoped that they could live a good life, better than him. Qin Xing's eyes lit up. After leaving Huarun 9-Mile Bund, Qin Xing originally wanted to go to Green City Huangpu Bay, because Sister Xue Qinyan lived there. Qin Xing had been there several times before. He had not seen Sister Xue for such a long time, so he missed her more or less. Moreover, he could talk to Sister Xue about some things, but he did not know whether she was at the company or at home today. Therefore, Qin Xing made a call. Who knew that Xue Qinyan was not in Shanghai? She went back to Hangzhou 2 days ago, and would only come back next week. After chatting with Xue Qinyan for a while, Qin Xing hung up the phone. Xue Qinyan did not ask much on the phone, maybe it was a little inconvenient. After hanging up the phone, Qin Xing was ready to go back to rest. At this time, the sky outside the window was a little bit gloomy. The typhoon was coming soon, so he could only stay in Shanghai these days. The long wait had just begun, and no one knew when it would end. This was the most torturous, but there was no other way, as long as everything went smoothly. However, when he thought of the result that Uncle said the other day, Qin Xing was not confident in his heart. As soon as Qin Xing returned to his home in Lujiazui, he took Chang Baji and the others to the supermarket to buy a lot of things. The typhoon was coming soon, and it was said that this time the typhoon was quite strong. Qin Xing wanted to prepare more food and drinks, so that he did not have to go out to buy things. After coming back from the supermarket, Qin Xing slept for 2 hours. After waking up, he began to work in the kitchen, preparing dinner for Lin Su personally. He liked to cook, but sometimes he was too busy and did not have time. During this period in Shanghai, he should be quite free, so he could often cook for Lin Su. When Lin Su came home from work, she smelled the aroma of the kitchen. Qin Xing had told her over the phone that he would cook by himself tonight, so Lin Su came home directly after work. Before leaving, her uncle Lin Changhe did not forget to tease her, saying, "Only Qin Xing can make you work less hard. In the future, if you often stay up late to work overtime, I will call Qin Xing directly." Lin Changhe had planned to invite Qin Xing to dinner tonight, and Lin Zhe and his wife would also be there. It could be counted as a family dinner. Lin Changhe had not seen Qin Xing for a long time, and he was quite concerned about the affairs of the Qin family. However, something came up at the last minute, so he had to postpone the dinner. After all, Lin Changhe was a leader in the city, and it was not appropriate for him to refuse. Lin Su put down the things and ran straight into the kitchen. She said in surprise, "So sumptuous. Take a rest in the living room first. Dinner will be ready soon." Qin Shing said very comfortably. In the future, when he was old, he would cook for his children and grandchildren every day. Of course, his culinary skills still needed to be improved. At that time, he would learn from several masters of state banquet. With his intelligence and wisdom, he would definitely become a famous chef of his generation. Lin Su hugged Qin Shing from behind, and then kissed his cheek gently. She said, "Thank you for your hard work. This is your reward." She wanted to stay in the kitchen for a while longer, but who knew that she would be driven out by Qin Shing directly? She had to leave, feeling wronged. She went back to her room and changed her clothes. Then she cleaned up the house and put away the things that Qin Shing bought from the supermarket one by one. Tomorrow was Sunday, and she could have a good rest for 2 days. The most important thing was that she was accompanied by Qin Shing. Dinner was ready soon. At this time, it was already very windy outside, and a storm was coming. Qin Shing did not forget to close the doors and windows, and so on. In this kind of weather, it was the most comfortable to stay at home. Maybe because Qin Shing cooked by himself, Lin Su was in a very good mood today. Usually, she would eat half a bowl of rice at most. At most, she would eat half a bowl of rice. Today, she finished a bowl of rice and ate a lot of vegetables. Qin Shing kept putting food in her bowl. She had to eat even if she did not want to. He even said that she had lost so much weight in such a short time. No, I must make you fatter these few days. Otherwise, you won't be beautiful anymore." Of course, Lin Su knew that Qin Shing was joking, so she felt very warm in her heart. She was very lucky to meet such a man who tolerated everything about her. They had almost never quarreled or had conflict. They would solve problems calmly at any time. The most important thing was that they really had a tacit understanding with each other, just like each other in this world. After dinner, Lin Su wanted to wash the dishes, but she still failed to persuade Qin Shing. She was chased to the sofa by him to watch TV. Qin Shing did not forget to wash the fruits and set the snacks for her. He said that she had been working hard during this period and should enjoy life for the next few days. After that, he went to the kitchen to clean up the mess. After finishing these trivial things, Qin Shing nestled on the sofa and accompanied Lin Su to watch TV. Lin Su did not want to work overtime, so she lay quietly in Qin Shing's arms. This kind of life was really very comfortable, as if they had returned to the good times in Xiamen. When they left Xiamen, they knew that that kind of life would not happen again. As expected, it was like this. No one's life would be the same. Qin Shing dealt with the family affairs, while Lin Su was busy with the company's affairs. These were also part of life. Then, they would go home to cook and watch TV. The rhythm was similar to that of most families. This was also part of life. When they went to sleep at night, there was lightning and thunder outside, and it was already raining heavily. In addition, the wind was whimpering. Lin Su hugged Qin Shing tightly and could not bear to let go at all. Qin Shing deliberately scared Lin Su, saying that he would tell her a few ghost stories. Lin Su was so scared that she crawled into the bed and did not dare to come out. The two fell asleep while playing. Half a day of dull married life came to an end. In the next 3 days, the strongest typhoon of the year passed through Shanghai. It was a mess outside. Qin Shing and Lin Su stayed at home. Lin Su sometimes worked, and sometimes accompanied Qin Shing to watch movies. Other than cooking for Lin Su, Qin Shing read books, listened to songs, and watched movies. As for those things in the Qin family, Qin Shing did not even think about it. He had not been so relaxed for a long time. He did not need to think about anything and just simply enjoyed life. Moreover, with Lin Su accompanying him, this was a very happy thing. During this period, Xia Ding knew that he had returned to Shanghai, so he tricked Qin Shing to go over for a drink. Qin Shing was too lazy to go out, so he gave a perfunctory answer. Xia Ding was so angry that he said that Qin Shing really valued love over friendship and believed that he would tell Lin Su about him picking up girls in Beijing. Xia Ding was so angry that he kept scolding Qin Shing for being cunning. After the typhoon was over, Qin Shing still stayed at home. It seemed that he did not want to go anywhere. Lin Su resumed her regular work life, but she got off work on time every day. She did not work late as usual. Qin Shing became a good family man. He prepared breakfast and dinner for Lin Su on time every day, and spent the rest of his time reading and meditating. That night, Lin Changhe invited Qin Shing to dinner. Qin Shing was still too lazy to go out, so he cooked for Lin Changhe and Lin Zhe. Lin Su did not have a problem with this. Her relationship with her family had improved. After all, they were all her relatives. Of course, she would not refuse. During dinner, Lin Changhe chatted with Qin Shing casually. Lin Zhe and his wife were somewhat restrained, especially Lin Zhe's wife, who did not treat Lin Su well in the past. Now that Lin Su had become the helmsman of the Lin family, Lin Zhe's wife had a problem with Lin Su in the beginning. It was not until Lin Zhe had to lower his head and change that she took the initiative to ease the relationship with Lin Su. However, it seemed that Lin Su did not have a good impression of this sister-in-law. Most of the time, she was just polite to her sister-in-law. It seemed that she was more like an outsider than an outsider. After drinking a little, Lin Changhe could not help but say, "Qin Shing, as your second uncle, there is something I have to say. Don't blame me for being talkative." Qin Shing said calmly, "Second uncle, if you have something to say, just say it. You are the elder, you can say anything." "Actually, it's nothing. It's just that the old lady has asked you several times about your relationship with Lin Su. She wants to know when the two families' heads will meet and settle your marriage. I know that your family has been in turmoil recently. It's not appropriate to say this now. However, the old lady's health is getting worse and worse. She is really worried about her granddaughter, Susu," Lin Changhe said embarrassedly. This was a political task assigned to him by the old lady. He had to finish it before he could report to his family. Otherwise, he did not know how to answer the old lady. Secondly, he also hoped that Qin Shing and Lin Su could settle their marriage as soon as possible. Although he knew that the relationship between Qin Shing and Lin Su was stable, if it was delayed for one more day, accidents might happen. In particular, they still did not know the opinions of Qin Shing's family and their attitude towards Lin Su. Lin Su subconsciously pursed her lips and looked at her second uncle with a slight frown. Although her grandmother had asked her several times, the current situation of the Qin family was indeed not suitable. As for the inside story of the Qin family, the Lin family and Lin Changhe naturally did not know. If they had known that something had happened to Qin Chang'an, they would not have asked about it. At this moment, Qin Shing obviously had no time to care about anything else. Lin Zhe stared at Qin Shing, waiting for his answer. However, before he opened his mouth, his wife could not help but say, "Qin Shing, second uncle is right. When will you get married? As your sister-in-law, I should prepare the dowry for Susu as soon as possible." Lin Zhe stared at his wife and signaled her not to talk nonsense. This was not the occasion for a woman to speak. Obviously, Lin Su was also somewhat unhappy. She did not want to see the Lin family pressuring Qin Shing. No matter what, Qin Shing had to answer this question. He thought for a while and said, "Second uncle, I know my grandmother cares about it. I have also thought about it. However, our family has some troubles recently. My father may not come here for a while. When he is finished, the elders of the two families will definitely meet. However, my grandmother, small aunt, my sister, and other relatives have already met Lin Su. They are quite satisfied with her. You don't have to worry too much about it." Lin Changhe asked curiously, "Your father hasn't met Lin Su yet. Is he not satisfied with her?" Lin Changhe said this more or less anxiously. Logically speaking, he should not have said this. Maybe he really regarded Qin Shing as one of his own, so he did not have any scruples. Qin Shing smiled somewhat embarrassedly as he said, "No, he just can't leave now." Lin Su did not want to continue this topic. She directly said, "Second uncle, let's not talk about this. I will tell my grandmother later. You can continue to drink." Lin Changhe felt that something was wrong. Obviously, Qin Shing had something difficult to say. Otherwise, his answer would not be so ambiguous. It seemed that Lin Su was also helping to smooth things over. Lin Changhe did not continue this topic. At night, after taking a shower and lying on the bed, Lin Su apologized to Qin Shing in embarrassment for what second uncle and the rest had said today. Qin Shing held Lin Su in his arms and smiled, saying that it was his fault and that second uncle and the rest had nothing to do with it. Although Qin Shing said so, Lin Su still blamed herself a little. After Qin Shing comforted her for a while, Lin Su stopped thinking about it. At noon the next day, after staying in Shanghai for a long time, Qin Shing finally found time to meet the group of people of the Qin family in Shanghai. Although Bao Fan had won Qin Shing's trust, who knew what those people below him would think? Consequently, Qin Shing, the future successor of the Qin family, had to handle the situation in person. Battlefield Literature. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.